Good morning, good evening, or good day. Welcome to the Z to Z podcast, the home for Xbox achievement hunters and Gamerscore junkies. I'm your host, Brandon Freem, and thank you so much for listening. At Z to Z, we love gaming, and in particular, grabbing achievements and gaining Gamerscore. We do news, reviews, and interviews. If it's about achievements, we'll unlock it. This week's show is packed to the gills. We've got a ton of great community feedback because we have some of the best listeners out there. And we got a nice smattering of news, a little mod talk, and even a food recipe. We also put Vivendi on blast. This podcast does not condone bullying in any regards. Closed circuit to Vivendi agents listening. If you want to drive an armored bank truck filled with money to my house and buy this show, why don't you DM me on Twitter and we'll work something out. You can find show notes for this show, as well as previous shows, on our website, z2z.com. This is episode 11. You can also contact us with questions and comments on Twitter at Z2Z, that's ZEDTOZED, or email us directly at contact@z2z.com. Today's show is brought to you by the achievement pair, Psychotic Prankster, and Prankster's Returns from the game Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, respectively. This ingenious little trick I absolutely would never have considered doing had it not been for this achievement. While sneaking around about the world, you can pickpocket NPCs and take their loot. But you can also reverse pickpocket by leaving things in their inventory from your own. Well, what kind of things do you ask? Well, how about a live grenade? Just drop that in and walk away, and hilarity ensues. Add the perk Bloody Mess for some extra fun. Special thanks to developer and publisher Bethesda for that clever achievement. And if you, our fantastic listeners out there, have a suggestion for an achievement sponsor, you gotta let us know. We would love to have your feedback and anything that you are particularly proud of or enjoy. You can contact us through Facebook or Twitter, like I mentioned, at Z2Z, ZEDTOZED. And, of course, the email on our website, contact@z2z.com. Hell, you could even leave your suggestion in an iTunes review. So, with that being said, let's get this show started with an introduction of my co-hosts. And today I've got my normal co-hosts. With me is Terrigan. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Freem, how are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. And, of course, we've got Crandy, who's making... this is quite the streak you've got, Crandy. A bunch of shows in a row. Anything new with you?
I know. This is like the most. Usually it's like, every second show because something comes up, but this is pretty good. Yeah, I do have something new, actually. I'm kind of excited about it. I'm decided to start a new segment. It's kind of unrelated, but it's kind of fun anyway. I'm going to do my mug of the week because I like to go to thrift stores and buy weird mugs. Preferably mugs that have some kind of event or thing that I clearly have never been involved with. So this week, I have the 36 USF Law Review of 2001 to 2002. No idea what that is, and there's about 40 names on here. So, and these mugs are always going to be in the show notes, so...
we'll take a picture.
So I'll take
a
picture for fun. And it has Southern Peach Tea by Stash in it, and that's what I'm drinking this show.
Fantastic. Well, I have another recipe for you that can go right into that mug. So if you have watched Star Wars The Force Awakens, there is this weird goop that Rey eats. She trades for it and then makes this like bread-looking weird thing at the beginning of the movie there. Well, somebody went and made that recipe. Like they figured it out and decided to put it together, and the official Star Wars franchise has seen the recipe and said, nope, yep, this is now officially Rey's bread portion. And so in the show notes, we're going to have the actual recipe on how to make this microwavable. You put it in your mug. Essentially, so what makes it green is this matcha powder. So you're going to have to tell me if it tastes just like a dreadful green tea. But it's, there's some sugar in there, a little bit of milk, a little vanilla. It probably tastes actually
It's not
pretty
dreadful,
decent.
okay? It's not dreadful. I enjoy matcha, okay?
I fully expect you to have eaten this by... Actually, I'm going to try to make it. I'm going to substitute out the whole milk.
Maybe we can get a collaboration on Mug of the Week. Maybe I can make it in the Mug of the Week, because I do have matcha already. So
Do you? I don't think I have matcha.
It's kind of pricey.
Yeah, that'll be delicious.
But I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan, I haven't seen the movie, but I'll make it.
Is it the sort of thing you could substitute in with like kale or something?
No,
I mean that's going to be a real vegetable taste.
Kale doesn't get green enough. See, matcha's really green. That's what makes it. Like, the green tea. I don't know. They're not the latte. The green tea, like Frappuccino things at Starbucks, like blended green tea things.
It's like crazy green.
That's super green. That's what makes it green. Is matcha.
You're talking to an Australian here. We don't really have many Starbucks.
You don't have Starbucks?
We have Starbucks. There's just not that many of them.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a green. It's just imagine like it looks like blended up spinach and ice cream or something. It's really green.
Super green. Yeah. Anyway, we should actually probably get the show started for real. So yeah, let's do that. You got anything important that we should cover?
Well, I had just a little bit of a PSA. Someone on my feed on Twitter basically just announced to Rare, so Rare as in the game company Rare, that he's happy to help anybody get the famous Pinata achievement, which is a relatively difficult achievement to get in Viva Pinata Trouble in Paradise. It's actually a viral achievement, and it requires having a very special pinata that's basically been given to you, I think, by one of the sort of the dev team or one of the support team at Rare originally.
Yeah, I can comment on that a little bit. It's one of those things where I don't believe there are any more being put into circulation. So the only way to get it now is from somebody that still has one of those pinatas and it hasn't been stolen.
Yes,
so
correct.
It used to be earned by, I believe you had to get all of the awards. And then you would contact Rare, or they would see you on the leaderboards or something, and then send you the pinata. But they don't do that anymore. So
so they can't be gotten anymore. You can actually get the achievement for watching somebody else open it. So the people who often have it.
When you say open it, you mean like beat it with a stick and crack it open? I never played Viva Pinata, so
no, not quite. No, it's not a sort of. No, you basically get given a present in the game. You open it, and that has the So it's like
pops out.
It's a gift.
You don't beat it to a pulp. You just take it out of a box.
Well, because you said it was like they're no longer making them anymore, or they might have gotten stolen. I'm thinking like people are taking these and just beating them to get the candy out of them. It's like, and I follow Rare on Twitter, right? And like, so they always show the pictures. I'm like, oh, they're all so cute. And now I'm hearing this, and I'm thinking, oh my god,
you can brutally murder them for the candy inside if you want to.
I did not realize that. Is there an achievement for that?
Viva Pinata Rated R edition.
Right?
I don't...
The Baby Seal edition.
I don't think there is. The pinatas do also brutally murder each other for the candy inside of each other. They will also eat one of their own. Like, if you smash it open, they'll just come running. It's like, ooh, candy.
Wow. Candy.
That was my brother a minute ago, but he's good. It's delicious.
Delicious cannibals.
Anyway, moving on. The PSA is basically a guy by the name of Master Max 713 tweeted publicly to Rare just saying he's happy to help people get the famous Pinata achievement. So if you're interested in getting that particular achievement, get into contact with him. He will probably be able to help you out.
That is fantastic. I have some news as well. So in regards to my NCAA tournament contest leaderboard thing that I mentioned back on the last episode 10. So there's some news.
Just a quick note. This is not to do with the professional sports.
Nope.
Correct. Yes.
Or college sports.
That's right. Please don't sue us.
That's right. So there's already 14 people in the leaderboard, so I appreciate you signing up without any rules so far. That's quite the leap of faith. It should be fun, though. Anyway, there are some things percolating, and it sounds like I've been in contact with Rich over at True Achievement, and this is going to end up being a True Achievement contest, and I think my name's going to get smacked all over it for helping him with the idea. But so we've change the rules just a little bit to make it a little bit more approachable for everyone. But stay tuned to the TA news feed and in the near future when they get all the coding and all that stuff put together. And my contest is going to be a site contest. I'm super excited about this. I can't wait to see all the functionality. I mean, we'll talk about it in the news too, but these guys are just doing awesome things with this site, and the fact that now I get my contest as a TA contest is going to be super fun. But the nature of the contest is still there. Everything I talked about is essentially the same. There's just some minor tweaks on like the very specific rules, and all of that's going to be spelled out on the TA post. So keep your eyes out for that. It'll be a lot of fun, and we're still targeting that March 14th date to start. That'll be right after Selection Sunday. So hopefully everything still comes together for that date. But with all these new events, I don't know if we're going to be able to hit that. So keep your eyes out.
And that's really awesome. Really awesome news.
Absolutely. So let's get into our listener feedback and questions. We've got so much awesome feedback from our community. You guys, I mentioned at the top of the show, are just the best listeners. We really appreciate all the engagement that we get from you. If you who are listening now would like to get in contact with us, there's multiple ways to do that. Twitter is a fantastic way. You can tweet us at Z2Z. That's ZEDTOZED. Emails, contact@z2z.com. We get tons of messages through trueachievements.com and our private messages or our friend feed. There's so many ways. Facebook, we just love it. And so we will absolutely give you props on the show. And sometimes we get some negative comments.
We got one of those this week. We got a voice message.
Yeah, that's our first voice message.
I think it is. And it's from Yellow Lego Guy. So we're going to play that for you guys right now.
I hate talk shows, especially your achievement ones. I prefer to listen to Gummy Bear.
Well,
and there you have it.
that's certainly.
I don't know.
Certainly
we
an
can't
opinion.
compete with that, right? We can't compete with that.
No, I don't think there's anything we can do to win him back or win him over in the first place.
I am a terrible singer. And and even my Connect will not capture me dancing to any of that. So I don't even know. I don't even know.
All right.
Moving on. We should probably get to some more.
Get to
all the positive things that we've had.
So we got a message from Spazpol, and he gave us some feedback on Gamerscore Bootcamp, and he was saying that it's nice picking an easy title and but trying to do a verbal walkthrough when there are kind of more thorough guides out there on websites like TA makes it kind of hard to follow. And
I think you're saying more that it's kind of pointless to do that when there are already walkthroughs around, and also the following verbal guides like that are a bit difficult.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then he suggested maybe highlighting stuff we normally wouldn't know, like what happens after you get past the tutorial in Avatar, which is a mystery.
Think anybody knows what.
That's a mystery to everyone. Nobody knows what happens.
I think the game just shuts down, doesn't it?
I think so.
I don't know.
I think that's what happens in the majority of cases, doesn't it?
I got the toast and my Xbox just turned off. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
I was holding the Juul button, but
I ran it back to Blockbuster back when that was a thing, like right after. And then additionally, he told me that I should probably watch the movie in the last 3 years before I talk about it, because he trusts that he never saw half the movies he thought he did. Or no, that was me. I trust I saw half the movie. This is a mess. Anyway, I haven't seen the movies for a long time, and yes, that's fair. I was too busy playing RuneScape. So
yeah, it happens. Yeah. Well, and Spazpol, I totally appreciate the feedback, because it's a great point. I mean, I think the idea is going to be, because we love the segment, and we've getting some good feedback that it's worth having. But yeah, there's no point in retelling. I mean, I hate this. Like, if you're ever in a meeting and there's a PowerPoint on there, and the presenter just reads every bullet point to you, you're like, shut up! I can read. Like, you've got the slide up there, I can read. So that's an excellent point, and I think what we'll end up doing is kind of maybe pick out like what we think is the best guide if there's like a really excellent walkthrough, or if there's any pitfalls or like you said, the kind of unique things that maybe the game has to offer that people might have overlooked. The cookies, the Easter eggs. I like cookies. I'm really hungry right now. So yeah, I think we're keeping the segment. We'll put up a Twitter poll and we'll get a more official run on this and see. So head over to Z2Z at Twitter and vote on our poll. Gamerscore Bootcamp, up, down, or
round and round,
left, right. I don't know.
But my feeling is that we should keep the segment, but it just needs a bit of tweaking. So
yeah, because we got a message from Kez, who actually said he loves the show. He doesn't like social media, so he's sending me a message on TA, which is perfect. And he did mention that he was playing State of Decay when we were doing all our zombie talk, so he felt that it was very appropriate. But his comment on the Gamerscore Bootcamp was that it was cool because he kind of scrolled through the games that we had talked about, and he had already done the SpongeBob thing that I did on episode 10, but he looked at some of the other ones like, oh yeah, I haven't really crossed those yet, so it'll be interesting to listen to about easy ways to get those achievements taken care of. And he also had a couple other suggestions that we probably will throw on the old list when we get to it. And he's just a couple other things. He's excited about the contest coming up. He's been in a bunch of my contests over at the Achievement Hounds forums. He actually almost just won a relay contest I did. He was in the final 3, and those guys went on forever. Glad that's over with. Is
that one over?
It's finally over.
Actually,
finally
that reminds me.
He was runner-up on the assassination contest, too.
That does remind me, though. By the time this show goes to air, the potentially endless bean dive will have crossed over the 3-year mark.
That's right. It will.
Gosh.
Yeah, so just for people who don't know what that is, that's the Endless Bean Dive was a competition started about 3 years ago to start a new game every day, and the final 3 in that particular competition have been going and starting a new game on their tag every day for the past 3 years plus, and so again, a shout out to those guys. You guys are crazy.
And I remember when that was in talks, and that was before I even before I moved to the US. It feels like forever ago now, but that's a lot of games.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. So yeah, thanks Kez for reaching out. We also got a ton of comments on our little movie discussion that we had, even though it was not achievement focused, although I threw in that little piece of crackle at the end. We did get plenty of comments on it, and Big L surfaced this week. He was upset by his lack of episode 9 content, that he was only mentioned 2 times. So he decided that he had to rewrite that, or write that in justice. And so he started off by praising Joe, which we've got some other great feedback on Joe's contributions to the show. But he also mentioned...
He did misspell my name.
Yeah, he did. That's okay. That's the earthy version of Terrigan.
Yes, of course.
He had a note on the backwards compatibility with Dark Souls that he was actually pretty excited about it, because to him, even though he plays a lot of single player games, he still keeps them as a social experiment or a social experience, and gets into a party with his buddies and he's just talking and having fun, and even though they're all playing different games, they're still just jaw-jacking and having a good time. Well, Dark Souls on the 360 actually disables the party chat.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, that's super weird, right? And so hopefully, if you're doing the 1 on the backwards compatibility, that you can use the parties on the 1 that's outside of the emulation. I don't know. The game might trump that, but it's certainly something to look forward to. We'll see. And then his movie that we overlooked, and to tell you the truth, I don't think I've actually seen this movie, is Double Dragon. I do recall that was a movie, but I never watched it. And then and there were a couple other movies he mentioned too. In regard, he was upset that I don't even remember who said this. Not specifically enunciating Lara Croft, because it's easy to say Laura or Lara, But I don't know. I typically always say Lara.
It's probably my Australian drawl.
Could be.
It's Lara Croft.
Could be. And when you talk for an entire show, your mouth gets a little lazy at times. And then gave a shout out to Captain Lou Albano and Danny Wells from the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. I loved that show, by the way. I actually have a DVD of that upstairs. That I should probably show it to my son.
I think I've got a VHS with a couple episodes. I don't think I ever watched it. I think I got it at the thrift store for like 10 cents or something. I just never watched it. But I do have a VHS of it.
With your mugs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to like grit my teeth to watch the live action stuff because I just wanted to watch the cartoons, when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old or however, when I was that young. But like, would always totally appreciate the live action stuff too. It's great. And then the final thing that we want to talk about in regards to, well, there's two. One is kind of some discussion regarding how we like to play in the games that we approach. And so Big L had mentioned he was a little frustrated with you, Crandy, in you saying that you don't want to play Black Ops 2 because you have to buy the $60 worth of DLC. But you want to experience it and have fun, but you're off put by all the DLC because Call of Duty's DLC has achievements, and of course you want to get 100% of all your achievements, to which he doesn't think you will.
Well, now, okay, I won't get 100%, but I'm going to get real close because I've only got a very small handful of games in my tag that are not completable, and then there's one game I don't think I will have the skill to complete. Aside from that, I do fully intend to complete every game on my tag once I finish Gra, of course. That's why I'm finishing Gra.
I mean, right, that's why you're putting all that time into it.
If I hadn't put the time in Gra, I'd probably have 99% completion by now. Maybe.
Yeah,
it'd be close.
Yeah, I fully intend to complete all of the games on my tag as well. It's just I realistically know that I never ever will. It's kind of like that's the prime goal is that I would complete every single game and get every single achievement in every game in existence forever. That's kind of like, hey, I would love to be there, but yeah, he's right in that sense though, and I guess I wasn't particularly guarded about my tag, particularly after doing the Big Bean dive a few years ago, and I've stopped kind of caring. So I'm kind of in Big L's kind of boat there. It's like, yeah, just play what you want. Don't really worry about it too much. Well, but there is no real right way to approach the achievements hobby. It would be my point though. So I'm more on Big L's side. You're more on the completionist side. Freem's got his own thing going on. I think you just like to play good games, don't you, Freem?
Well, his comment to me specifically was when I had mentioned about, playing the Division or Homefront, and I had said specifically Division, where I was a little off-put if the achievement list comes out and it's multiplayer heavy, like the Dark Zone heavy.
Yeah.
And that I would be off-put in getting that game and playing it. And what I mean by that is, so if I look at an achievement list, and let's take an Assassin's Creed game for instance, right? I hate the Assassin's Creed multiplayer. I prefer single player content all the way. So if a game has an achievement list that is completely single player achievements, yet there is a multiplayer component, that leads me to believe that the single player content got the most care and attention and resources, because they focused on putting achievements to it, and the achievements likely indicate all the different areas to play, and that the multiplayer is its own thing for a different set of people. Whereas if all of a sudden I look at a list and it's 50-50, then that's a warning to me that, well, maybe there's not a lot of single player content there that will, and so if and granted, I'm not going to spend $60 typically anyway, but let's say I would, then am I getting the amount of content I want for that price, or the time investment I want to take? And that's kind of where I lean, is that I won't stray away from something to put it on my card. I mean, I bean dived a bunch of stuff and I'm not happy about it. Like I have like, Karaoke Revolution, American Idol or whatever. And it's like that monstrosity is sitting on my my gamer tag right now.
We still need to do that multiplayer in that.
Yeah, right. So anyway, it's those kinds of things. Like I know I'm not going to get to 100%, but when it comes to, I do like to get as many achievements as I can, and when it comes to games with large multiplayer components, then it's like, well, do I want to learn how to play this game because I'm going to show up so late to it. I'm not going to have any friends to play with because all my like close friends, like they don't really game, and then all of my gamer friends are doing other random crap that it's like, well, I'm only on here for like an hour and a half, so I don't want to try and coordinate something.
That's probably another issue there, is that when you've got limited time to game, spending hours and hours dedicated to a multiplayer section of a game is not ideal.
Yeah.
And
even to get those achievements, like I have to coordinate, I got to set a boosting session and then coordinate.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, I don't really have 2 full hours because I want to get to bed before midnight, but I can't start till 10. So can I do like an hour and 35 minutes? It's just, it's kind of cumbersome. And then you got to get the party going. And, Jimmy over there is having a hard time connecting. He's going to reset his router. You don't even start gaming by, hopefully you can go right away at 10, but it might be 10:30. And it's like, well, that's a half hour I could have been.
You just have to get 6 more
wasting
Xboxes.
on Roblox. Yeah, there you go. Double duty. I'm usually playing on my phone.
Now, the thing with me is that I have taken, particularly now, like kind of more than ever, I've taken precaution to allow me to remain completable. Like, I don't bean dive. If you look at my playing habits on Windows Phone, Windows 8, Xbox One, which are all things that came after I got into TA, because I've had my tag for 9 years, and in the first 6 or 5 years, I liked to complete games, but I wasn't. I would actually go out of my way to pop achievements in them. I would basically dive if I was at my friend's house and he had a game I didn't play. I would dive it. Before I knew what a bean dive was or whatever, I just wanted an achievement on my tag.
Would have been before a bean dive even existed as a concept.
Yeah, probably. And so I have a lot of scars on my profile from that and games I played back then and things that have had servers close. But everything from here on is completable. And that's why I say, I do have a few games I will never complete, but I do plan on all the, and when I joined TA, I made a goal for myself. I mean, this wasn't a posted goal. This was a goal to me, by me, to get every achievement I could that was on my tag. Actually, it started out with every online achievement, and then I expanded it to every achievement. So that's something that I've been working on since I joined TA, and when Graw's done, maybe it'll actually happen. And then
yeah, right.
To move on to Black Ops 2, that's kind of my little protest of Call of Duty. I actually have
it could just be DLC in general.
Yeah,
I think you and I are in the same boat. We just hate price gouging content.
No, exactly, and it's the price gouging content, and Call of Duty in particular, I think is a bad offender in that department, because the last Call of Duty I played was Black Ops 1. And as I said before, I enjoyed Black Ops 1. But it was the turning point for me where I realized, wow, this DLC is really, really, really overpriced. Because up until that point, there were no DLC achievements. I think there were some DLC... well, World at War had 2, but they were...
Treyarch was doing DLC with achievements, and Infinity Ward had everything in the single player.
Yes. And so, and even Treyarch, it wasn't that bad on World at War. I think they were $10 a pack. And there were 2 packs with achievements and 3 packs in total. So that's 3 map packs at $10 each. Okay. Now we move on to Black Ops, that suddenly goes up to $15 a pack and I think they had 3 competitive multiplayer maps and 1 zombie map each for $15.
Right.
That's absurd. That's absolutely ridiculous. So that's kind of my thing is, if I'm going to play a game, I'm going to finish it. I could play it on a dummy, and maybe I will one day. I actually have a DLC code for Black Ops 2 that came with my Japanese Xbox. Maybe I'll play it one day, but it's kind of my thing is I don't want to really have anything to do with
behavior that you don't appreciate from game devs.
No, exactly. And I think the best way to show that is by not buying their game, not giving them money. I mean, I guess it's free. I guess they already made their money on the code, but
yeah,
really, I mean, I could buy it used too, I suppose, but it's just kind of the principle of it that, you know, when you have all this overpriced DLC, I don't want to support you. That makes a $60 game that's already too much become a $120 game. That's way too much for map packs.
Yeah.
If it was like a whole nother campaign or something, that's a different story. But this is like 4 maps. I'm sure that doesn't have a lot of dev time.
Back when I was playing Call of Duty, like, you know, I spent hundreds of hours playing Call of Duty multiplayer, and I loved it. I had a cool group of friends. We'd get on every night and play, and I was like, this is great. And then my backlog started piling up, and it's like, boy, I'm not getting any achievements playing online. I'm, you know, prestiging and doing whatever. And, you know, if for the people who only buy Call of Duty every year, it's like $120 for an entire year's worth of content. In their mind is like, well, I mean, I put in 600 hours, so it's a great investment. Whereas, you know, if you're going for achievements and you're looking at it from our standpoint, it's like, well, no, that's obscene. Like, I will not pay that much money for achievements and a game that I realistically will not put hundreds of hours into. You know, so yeah, it becomes a cost-benefit analysis, and it typically comes out on the short end.
I would dollar per gamer score.
Well, there's that, but I would still argue that $15 is too much for 3 maps. Even if you're going to play it a whole bunch, it's just the idea that, like, that this is an entire map that, I don't know, I feel like, maybe not so much on console because it was harder to distribute, but, like, on PC games in, you know, 5-ish years ago, maps are usually something that's just an update, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I wasn't really big into the scene back then, but like I feel like maps are something that should have come with the game, and if it didn't, it should just be an update to sell more copies of the game. To say, oh, we added some more maps that you can download for free, or, you know, maybe $5 for a pack, but $15 for 3 maps. I mean, 4 if you include zombies, but still, even 4 is too much.
So we'll close out Big L's comment here, and I'm going to read the last part of his email verbatim. P.S. to McLovin McLoser, or whatever your name is. The same way true tough guys don't go around bragging about how tough they are, a true number 1 fan shouldn't have to mention it either. Your number 1 fan, Big Hypocritic L. Thanks for that, Big L. We appreciate your contribution to the show. Right? It's fantastic. We'll keep in with how I opened that was with our movie theme. Buck Marley just sent me a message today. He had finished listening to the episode and said he now has this urge to go on a video game movie marathon. And so he's going to watch the Dead Rising movie, presumably all of the Resident Evils, although he just said Resident Evil 1. But he might go through... Is there 5 out now, or the 5th one's being released soon? And then he's going to cap it all off with a little House of the Dead 2. So the zombie-themed video game movie marathon. That's tough to say. But should be a lot of fun. Good luck on that, Buck Marley.
Marathons like that are fun. I used to do those at what my friends and I called the sausage parties that we used to have. We'd all just get around. We'd take a whole weekend. We'd just go to someone's house. There's just a bunch of guys. We just play video games and watch movies.
And eat sausage. I mean, what?
No.
Whoa, what?
No, there was no sausage eating.
Elephant walk.
You can guess what it's called sausage party, you know.
Yes, yeah.
You don't need to paint a picture. We got it.
Yes. All right, moving on. I got a comment on the blog post for the last episode from Facia Lafleur. He was also regarding the movies. I recall the Doom movie being pretty horrible, and he's actually a huge Carl Urban fan, but he really enjoyed the first Silent Hill movie. So thumbs up, so did I. I've never played a Silent Hill game, and maybe not measuring the movie's quality of it based on the quality of the game had something to do with that, quite possibly. My favourite game movie is the Final Fantasy VII Advent children movie. I don't think we actually mentioned the Final Fantasy movies per se
I didn't even know they had movies.
Yeah, there was one recently for Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. They actually released a movie called Final Fantasy, which was sort of tied loosely to some concepts of the Final Fantasy universes, but was its own thing. It wasn't tied directly to a game.
It was such a MacGuffin. I mean, it was like, it had nothing to do with, like, I was expecting at least a sword or something, but like some weird ghost space adventure.
Yeah. So it was
visually, it was really nice at the time.
Square sort of delved into their own sort of studio for movies, and it didn't really work as far as I know.
Really weird.
Yeah. He also mentioned that if we wanted to check out a really bad game movie, to try out Far Cry on Netflix.
Far Cry
I
has
can't
a
even
movie?
believe they made it. Yeah, I've never heard of Far Cry movie.
There's probably a good reason for that.
I'm guessing so.
Is it must be a U Bowl movie. He's that director who's just hideous.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking of a movie that I really enjoyed, but they had that animated Resident Evil one. Oh man, I can't remember what it is anymore. But Degeneration, that's what it was. That was actually pretty cool. But it was animated. I mean, it wasn't like a feature release or anything. But I liked that one. Anyway.
All right, so next we have a comment from McLovin Legend, our number one fan. Maybe. We'll see. He said, great movie chat, guys. What are your favorite games based on movies? Mine are Alien, Mad Max, and Alice in Wonderland on the 360. For me, I am a big fan of GoldenEye 64. I think that was a great movie game. I wasn't so much into the campaign, and there's nothing wrong with the campaign, but I had a blast with that in multiplayer back in the N64 days. Such a blast. I also like Goosebumps, of course. We talked about that in a prior episode, and Duck Dynasty has a special place. I actually have 2 copies of the Duck Deluxe Edition. It comes with the duck call and the bandana. See, I got one on release day, and then I got another one as a sealed copy for my collection because it was on sale. It was like super cheap, so I couldn't turn that down. It's such a great. It's Duck Dynasty. I don't even watch Duck Dynasty. It's just a great, horrible game.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
One for the shovelware. As far as the sort of favorite games based on movies, I can only really think of one, and that's the one I've been playing kind of recently, and that's Alien Isolation, which is, and I think the reason that is so good is because it borrows from the history and the story of Alien and Aliens, but it's its own thing. It's not trying to follow the story of a movie. It's its own story, and they're able to pace it well for a game rather than trying to pace a movie story into a game, which is what I think often doesn't work very well. What about you, Frame? Do you have a favorite?
I'm just looking through my list right now. I don't have like anything I can think of. I mean, the GoldenEye is a fantastic example.
Yeah, absolutely.
I put so much time into that as a kid, and it's always funny when there's that game coming out called Screen Cheat.
Yep.
And I think of how brilliant the game mechanic is. And if you guys aren't familiar with Screen Cheat, so the screen cheating is when you're playing local co-op or local multiplayer, and you got the 4 split screen. And to find out where your opponents are, you peek over at their screen. And so, like, when we'd play like Halo or things like that, you try to create these really convoluted, cardboard barriers, or try and figure out a way to like block your opponent from seeing where you are. Anyway, so the game Screen Cheat is actually all of the enemies are completely invisible on your screen. So you have to look at your opponent's screen to see where you are to hopefully then line up your shot to kill them. It's brilliant. But anyway, back to GoldenEye. Like,
kids
that was
these
the
days,
advent of screen cheating.
Kids these days don't understand what screen cheating. We call it screen peeking. Actually, screen peekers. I don't think we ever did the cardboard barriers. I don't think we.
No, I don't
that
think we ever
crazy.
got that far.
I played
We
with
did.
someone though. One of my friends' friends. We were all hanging out one day. We were playing Halo 2, I think, and he had devised a way to avoid screen peeking, where he would figure out where you were, then he would look at the ground and travel there, so you couldn't tell where he was, and it worked
That's brilliant.
phenomenally. Like that was the best way to trump screen peeking was
Yeah.
look at the ground.
See, and then mine was always that, we would play pistols, and they would think, and once you get that Magnum, like I just had the perfect reflex to like down trigger, and it was headshot after headshot, and they were just like, God, it's not even fun to play against you. You're just like, I mean, this was like before aim assist really like existed, and I'm sure there was aim assist in the game, but they're just flipping out. I'm like, I don't need a screen sheet because I can beat you on the draw, sucker.
Well, and then you get in GoldenEye too. You got where you can't move and aim at the same time. You gotta
Right.
like stop and then and then aim. With the one joystick shooter. It works
Yeah.
when everyone has that handicap. It works.
Right.
But-
Wasn't that
Right.
the case in GoldenEye where it was Oddjob, but he was shorter than everyone else,
Yep.
and it was actually just
Yep.
easier to get a headshot on him because he was at the perfect height to be headshotted no matter what you
Really?
did.
We outlawed Oddjob because he was too small. We were like, no, you're too little. That doesn't count.
See-
You got to be a normal sized dude.
We always played in DK mode, so everyone was giant. I don't know. Did you guys ever have that cheat? We played where your head gets really big and your arms get really long, like Donkey Kong.
No, that was
Yeah,
funny,
funny.
no.
I assume that's what DK was referring to because it's a rare
I'm
game.
sure.
But yeah, we always did that. So I was usually Jaws. So I was just massive.
Big old homunculus that just was ridiculous looking.
Yeah, it was pretty hilarious.
That is funny. No, so that, I mean, I'm going to go to GoldenEye. That's just the easiest and probably the most influential in my formative gaming years. Back in the day when you'd get movie tie-in games constantly, you'd typically play them for the
Just
easy gamer
trash.
score. Yeah, they're just cash-ins and...
Yeah, either that or they're basically simple platformers based on animated movies like Rango. And I'd actually give a a thumbs up to Rango. Actually, the game was quite fun, but there are other ones like the SpongeBob SquarePants ones that just aren't that much fun.
I remember my first experience as a kid with a bad movie game. I vividly remember it because I was so disappointed. It was Monsters, Inc. for Game Boy Advance. So it had just come out. I had some money. And I was like, okay, let's go to the store. I'm going to get a new Game Boy Advance game. Like, oh, Monsters, Inc. That'll be fun. No. No. It was this. I swear, it's the same level like 100 times. I don't even think I finished it. I was like, this is stupid. I'm not going to play it anymore. I don't even remember if it was a platform. I don't even remember what it was. I just remember I still have it. I haven't played it in years, but I don't know. That was a bad one. That was probably the worst.
I guess it could be I don't know whether it really counts, but the Lego Movie, the video game, would that really...
Oh, yeah. I guess that
It's based
kinda
on a
would.
Lego movie.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just a Lego game, but it's still, yeah. I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be up there as ranking it as one of my favorite or anything like that. But it's
But they got
certainly-
that song. Everything
Everything
is
is
awesome.
awesome. Yep.
Yeah, like that's fantastic.
And I guess just on the subject of bad ports to or bad games made from movies or video games, I have to basically say NCIS is the worst game ever.
I have it sitting on
Oh,
my
yeah.
shelf. I'm pretty sure. I haven't played it yet, though.
Yep, I hated that game. That
Well,
was
maybe
so-
I'll have to dig it out.
Yeah, I think it's actually right up your alley.
Yeah, it might
It's really, really. I got so bored playing through that one, and it's the same mini games over and over again, and the dialogue is just trash.
Was that one of the
It was
ones I sent you, or was it released in Australia?
It was released in
Oh,
Australia.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to see if I have it because it might be one of the ones. I'm pretty sure I do.
It's
We'll see.
check it out. Do it for the Shovelware Cemetery
Yeah,
and let me know what
maybe.
you think.
We'll
Because
see.
Ugh. Anyway, let's move on.
So next up is Jawlin at JawlinX2 from Twitter. He's saying that Quantum Break has now gone gold, so it is in fact coming out on April 5th. That's right, Freem.
I don't buy it.
It's coming
I don't
out.
buy
It's
it.
coming out on time.
Yeah, we'll see. There's going to be roads are a little slippery. It's getting icy. Transition temperatures.
All the trucks, every single one of them.
All the digital releases. They're going to get stuck in traffic.
Mass server failure, and every truck has driven off the road that contained those games. They're nowhere to be found.
Mass server failure. Yeah. All copies of the game will get deleted by accident. It's just...
He also says,
we'll see.
Awesome podcast, and keep up the good work. So thanks for sending that in.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that. Well, hey, we got a message from Mighty Mango, my fellow Minnesotan, and so I had 2 comments from my fellow Minnesotans that I called out. So Mighty Mango and Weasel Pizza. Weasel Pizza mentioned that his Minnesota Wisconsin drawl, as it were, typically comes out when he's had a few adult cocktails. But Mighty Mango mentioned that he 100% defends the fact that we talk normal and loved the Don and Dawn thing because that is exactly how we talk here, and it's unbelievable. But he's going to throw his hat into the ring of being able to help out with your regional games testing that we had talked about. He does indeed have 3 consoles, the PAL NTSC and NTSC-J. So you get them onto your little list, and we'll start getting some additional testing of games that work on each individual console.
All right, yeah, we'll get in touch. And just on that though, given that he's in Wisconsin and Minnesota, sorry, Wisconsin got making
Don't put us in Wisconsin. That's even
making a murderer on my mind. So in Minnesota, did you end up getting a hold of PAL console of Orcs and Men?
Not yet. No, Handy said that I should reach out to him. I'm super lazy, and I have not. So, Mighty, I totally will in the near future, and find a way to come visit your house or something and take your PAL console off your hands for a day or so. It's one of those things that's like I need to find time where I can commit to playing it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, because if I do it, like I want to just sit and like I gotta devote, and because I hate loaning stuff. Like I don't want to be in anyone's pocket. Like that was like my biggest goal when I got out of college was like what's the fastest way I can get out of debt to my parents, and I can get my own house, I can get my own car, and I can cut myself off because I don't like to be in anyone's pocket. And so like I feel bad if I own if I'm borrowing somebody's tools or I'm borrowing someone's PAL console. It's like, I don't want to like sit on this, so I got to find a good time where it's like, I can devote a good 2-3 days to finishing of Orcs and Men. Plus, I mean, if I have a PAL console here, it's like, gosh, I should probably line up a bunch of easy gamer score because I don't know when that opportunity is going to come back again.
If you want to borrow from my library of goodies, let me know. Just pay round trip shipping.
I've got a few.
I know, right? Well, I'm not paying for that shipping, Terry, and that's...
It's actually, the shipping's not too bad from us. But...
If you just send the discs, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like USPS cheap, but it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Alrighty, moving on. We've got a bunch of other just good feedback, just people saying basically, yay, we like the show. Now, Jo actually got some specific feedback. So for her stint on the show, was it episode 9, 8, one of those? And basically, NBA Kirkland, Razurus, how do you even see that? CKY616 Craig 1. Great game attack. Nexus, Plexus, X Towers, and of course, Joe's mum. Thought that she did great too. So thank you to all of those. We've also got a bunch of other feedback, which just was general, like the show, etc. So Jay's up 43, Johnny's up 18. I think he retweeted us around, which was great. God of Cyanide, Dan Taylor. Craig Waddington, which is Craig Kildare. He's actually a special case because he was looking for the Z2Z podcast after hearing our shout out on the True Achievements podcast. So firstly, thanks Trish and the guys for that shout out. That was really awesome. But he couldn't actually find the show because he was looking for the Z without spelling it out completely, which is going to be our continuous SEO problem, I think. But so he reached out to Rich, and Rich put him in contact with me, and then I pointed him in the right direction. So now he's listening to the show, which is great. So thanks for taking the time to look for us, Craig. And lastly, just came in recently in the last day or so that Frank Hardy, who's at Hardy Frank, said, the best podcast for all achievement hunters. I listen religiously now, which I think technically means that we now have a cult following.
Woohoo! So if we do indeed have a cult following, we're going to pass around the donation tin. And so feel free to put your shovelware games.
You're obligated. You are obligated. We'll know.
No, of course not.
Of course.
But it'd be great to have all of our listeners and all these awesome feedbacks translate into like iTunes reviews or other podcast reviews. That is a completely free way to promote the show, as well as all of the retweets that we get for each episode and the likes, the hearts. It's fantastic, guys, and we couldn't keep this show going without you. So thank you so much for taking the time and being a part of the show. That's really, really great. So we're going to take a quick little break and get into what we have been playing. All right, let's move into what we've been playing this week. Terrigan, kick it off. What's been on your plate this week?
Well, I've played a lot of Roblox. No, I haven't. I've just popped it up for the daily. I've finished up Layers of Fear. I think that's probably the only game I actually put any dedicated time into this week and got some decent points out of. So Layers of Fear, I've talked about that in the last couple of shows. It's sort of a survival horror, psychological kind of game with lots of jump scares, and it's a pretty layered story, and yes, it will creep the hell out of you.
So what's the count on pairs of pants you went through?
I would say 4, at least 4. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's
4 loads of laundry.
Yeah. It does lose its shock factor on, say, the second and third playthrough, and I had to actually play through it about 8 times or 9 times. Not because you need to play through it that many times, but just because one of the endings is particularly difficult to get, and there's not much information out there on how to exactly get it. There is a bit of a guide on TA to follow with a full video walkthrough and a bit of a description guide. That one's the one that actually finally got it for me. I think that was by Beth Bear on True Achievements, so thanks for that guide. But it is still a bit nebulous. I don't think anybody's exactly sure what triggers this final ending. So I had to spend quite a lot of time kind of running through the entire game really quickly. And once you're running through the entire game quickly and you know where all the jump scares are, you just don't get that scared. Although there is one section that always got me. There's just one room, and I always forgot which room it was. But there's one room. You'd end up in the room, and you go to the door, which you've done like 50 times before already in the game. You'd reach the door, touch the handle, and the door just goes and slams onto the ground with this big dramatic flare. And every single time it got me, it's just like, it's like, damn it, that one again. Yeah, so it's a good game.
I'll get it next time.
No, damn it. So Crandy and I played a little bit of the Bioshock 2 career multiplayer again, just at the start of the week. We were just kind of working through that. I think, Crandy, you finished up the multiplayer on that now.
I did, finally.
Yep, and I think I'm 2 games away, but our proxies in that game had to leave, so I'm 2 games short of finishing it.
Yeah. We'll get it soon.
No.
Yeah, we'll get it. And I also popped in Zeros and got promptly extremely frustrated with a particular achievement, and the less I speak about that game, the better.
Oh, no.
Save it for the cemetery.
Randy, what have you been doing?
Well, as you mentioned, I played a little Bioshock Korea, finished that one up. I think I was about 2 games off, maybe 3. I've been starting up Roblox, played a little Killer Instinct. Not as much this week, though. I finally popped the Infect 1,000 players in Perfect Dark Zero. That one, I swear, that one was never going to pop. It felt like ages, even though I was getting a lot of kills every game, but finally popped, and I'm almost done with that one for now for Rare Replay. I just got to finish 2 more campaign levels, and then I'll have my 750. I played some Flight Control and Airplane Mode again, some Pool Pro Online 3, and I think that's just about it. Oh, wait, actually, no, I played Gra. too. I played Gra.
Oh.
Just, I didn't forget that. That was a joke.
Okay. Yeah.
Just in case anyone was concerned.
Yeah, how could you forget? Yeah. How could you forget? It's such a
drink.
Drink.
Exactly.
Speaking of Windows Phone, I was a bit annoyed with my phones this week. I ended up buying a new memory card because the one that was in it in one of my Windows Phone 8 was basically dying. It wouldn't let me write any more to it, so I had to take content off it before it would write anything, and it was only about a quarter full, so there's something wrong with it. Bought a new one, put it in, was starting to move games around and so forth, and then the phone started getting really, really strange. All of the icons off the front screen went away. Half of the software couldn't be loaded, and I was like, "What the hell's going on?" And it was there. I could search the phone, look for it, and say the Games app, the actual Games app was there. I'd go and search through, and I could find it in the list of installed apps, but it wasn't actually available to run anywhere. And I was like, "Great!" So my phone is practically useless. So I had to reset the phone. And I didn't realize this, but when you reset the phone, anything that's on an SD card is no longer accessible by that phone. So that meant that all of the games that I had saved on that phone and all of the save progress is gone. And that just is really frustrating.
Oh, catastrophe.
Yeah, so basically I had to download all the games, and then I found about five titles that I just can't get anymore because they've been delisted and it won't let me download them. So it's like, great. I hate Windows Phone.
The thing to
just done a real mess with that job.
Is Windows Phone 10, you're probably going to be able to download those games again.
Yeah, so that'll be good.
That's a plus.
Yeah. But it's still frustrating. I find the Windows Phone software and the way they work is just really frustrating to work with.
Almost everything about them.
Yeah.
Other than achievements. That's why I have 4 of them.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'd have them at all is because of the achievements. And even then I end up playing them for a while, and then something will happen which will either lose progress or it'll completely barf on something, and I'll just turn the phone off and I won't pick it up again for 2 months. It just gets that frustrating.
I don't think I've ever had any catastrophic loss, but it's just the OS is clunky. Well, it's not. I want to say it's clunky, but it's just there's just nothing there. It's just, I don't know. When you compare it to iPhone or Android, I'm an Android user, but I mean iPhone's pretty solid too. It's just, I don't know. It's just so far behind. To me, and Windows Phone 10 in particular is. I mean, maybe it's because it's still kind of. Did it officially release now? I don't remember. Did it?
I don't know. I certainly haven't had an update for it on the Windows Phone 8, and my phone is compatible with Windows 10, apparently.
Okay,
I think they released it for very specific models, and they haven't done a full release. There might have been some issue.
Because mine's on the preview thing, whatever the developer thing, so I have it on one, and it's just awful. I think it's even worse than 8. I mean, there's a couple things about it that are a little bit better, but even just scrolling, it's like it locks if you scroll in a certain way, and then it doesn't scroll until you release your finger and scroll again. It's super weird. I mean, and you say, oh well, whatever, but it affects everything.
Yeah, and it probably wouldn't be so bad. It's just that if you've got another phone that you use regularly, the comparison is really jarring.
It really is.
Yeah. Anyway, we've kind of diverged there. Sorry.
That's my rant. That's my rant.
Sorry. So, Freddie, what have you been playing?
We'll tag it as Crandy's Rants. Rant is over on Windows Phone.
And Terry's Rants as well.
It's a joint rant this week.
There you go. Well, so for me, I played last weekend. It was my wife's birthday, and so what she wanted to do was go shopping with her mom and sister. So I was like, home, kids took a nap. I was like, I'm going to get some good gaming in. So I played a bunch of Guacamelee. Essentially got to the final boss, before you go down the road to get him. But there's so much Metroidvania action in there that I have to travel back and do things. So there's that. I love that game. It's super fun. I'm excited to explore more of it. I'm on my way to the El Infierno challenge levels, so that'll be a great time. For my scavenger hunt this week, I've been eyeballing Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time. They're completing the second campaign. It's super easy, but I want to do it with my son. We play co-op together, and he keeps getting home from school and burning up all his video game time. So there's no time to play when he gets home. And I don't want to go behind my wife's back and be like, "Oh, we got to finish this level, buddy."
Just
So I'm
give
going
him
to
an
give you some extra
extension token.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid that. And so, unfortunately, I mean, yeah. So my poor daughter got strep throat this week, and so we were supposed to go out of town tomorrow, and that's not going to happen because she's still contagious. So I'm kind of happy about that. Like, not that she's sick, but I'm happy I don't have to go to my niece's birthday party for like a day. It's one of those drives that's just long enough to be obnoxious, and then have to come back and turn around. So it'll be nice to stay home, and so hopefully he and I can just pound out that achievement for finishing the second level. But that's a great game, and so he's only 7, and it's it'd be easier with a more accomplished gamer to rip right through it, but actually it's just fine on casual with him to do it, and as he gets used to it, hopefully we can ramp up the difficulty a little bit. But I also did the Roblox 20-day challenge. I finished that up. So let's see, today is February 26th, so that means at some point on February 5th, I screwed up my achievement streak. And wait, I think that was a Friday. If that was a Friday, that means we were recording a show.
Yeah,
you pulled a frame.
Yep.
See, this is a new thing that Spazpole and I have. Well, he made it up, and then kind of became a thing. We were playing. Oh, actually, I played Wolfenstein this week as well. The Wolfenstein on Xbox 360. I was boosting a little bit of the multiplayer, making some progress toward Das Big Man, and yeah. So he was saying that he had to jump on he was jumping on Roblox like 3 times a day because he didn't want to pull a frame. Is what he said, and
he's the worst.
Lose the Roblox streak. So that's if you lose your Roblox streak, you're officially pulling a frame from here on.
So we can probably extend that to losing any kind of streak. You lose your achievement streak on TA, pulling a frame. Yeah,
especially if you do it on a day when you talk about playing it. That's
like I literally in my recap said, "Well, I got to check in every day." Yeah, and I freaking forget the day I talk about it. Unbelievable. So I want to delete it, but something tells me that there'll be more achievements added to that game. I hope not too, but oh my god, it's just terrible. I can't wait to hear you talk about it in Shovelware Cemetery down the road.
Well, maybe we can cover that one today, actually. I didn't plan on it, but yeah, we'll talk about Roblox.
Fantastic. The other bulk of my gaming was to finish my monthly goal. I needed to unlock the Titan Mastery achievement in Destiny. So I had a few little bubbles left, and I've been focusing on earning bounties, getting that thing taken care of, and I did it on Tuesday. Completed my goals for the month. So Life is Strange done, Iron Brigade done, Destiny, the Titan Mastery done. So I officially did my February goals, which is great. And I think we're abandoning goals for the show per se, but I'm not going to stop. That's just how I game. So if those of you who are interested, my plans this month for goals, I've got 2 Connect Fun Labs I need to finish off, and one of them does need help. So I got to set a boosting session up for Avatar Connect. Just get a couple friends, and honestly, I probably just go online one day and say, "Hey, help me out." But I'll make it official. We'll set up a TA.
I'd offer to jump in on that, but it's kind of a pain to set up Connect because I live in a very small apartment, and I have to move the living room like to play Connect. So it works, but it's like I'm only going to do it when no one's home except for me because take up the whole living room. And I also block the door to the other room with the screen that I play on, so it's a big mess. But I would like to do that game eventually, though.
Yeah, I can help out with that. I've got the completion on it, but I can certainly jump in. It's the one where you need at least 6 people, I think, in the lobby or something, don't you?
Is there? I don't remember. I fired it up and I was like, oh boy, this takes a lot more than just a quick half hour. So the other one is I Am Super. I'm going to do that one. So with the Connect out, I plan on finishing up Recketeer. The
yep. Yep.
the Cannonball Castle Destruction game. I've got everything except the goblins. I got all the golds. I finished everything up, and I have 505 goblins. So I need another 500. But now that for some reason, I was always on the side of games completed if I didn't want to buy the DLC and spend extra money. And so I wrote the DLC off on that one. Well, now I've switched my tune, and so I feel like I need to finish the DLC. So I'm going to buy the 2 extra chapters, and hopefully getting gold on those will pile up those goblin kills, and I won't have to grind out so much of it. So Recettear, 2 Connect Fun Labs, and then the big one is I need to sit down and finish Assassin's Creed Revelations. I hate it. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to get those stupid Animus fragments and whatever the other ridiculous collectibles are. I'm going to go base game and the DLC, the first-person garbage DLC. I think there is. I assume there's a DLC with a multiplayer component to it as well. I'm going to pass on that one. I definitely don't want to spend money on Assassin's Creed multiplayer. So those are my goals for March. The one final thing, I think is just I've been playing a ton of Destiny this week. Not that I necessarily wanted to. I'd much rather be getting achievements, but for some reason, to get the Titan Mastery, I started doing Iron Banner bounties this week, and then I realized, boy, that's a really nice rocket launcher there. I should probably get that rocket launcher. And so now I've been spending all week trying to get this stupid rocket launcher, and it's like, why am I doing this to myself? Why the Destiny bug? It's all up in my business. So anyway, I'm happy with my February goals and completing those. So we'll see how March treats me. So with that being said, let's move into news. We'll start with some achievement-specific news.
Yeah, I've been, as has been evident in some of the earlier episodes, I keep an eye on the top of the leaderboards. There's been a couple of movements, well, not so much movements, but just a bit of an update. Redemption Denied's finally hit his 990,000 gamer score, so he's getting very close to hitting the 1 million, and from some of the comments I've seen from him, he's expecting to hit that maybe mid-March, mid to late March, I think he was looking at. Stallion83, currently the world record holder for the person with the most gamer score in the world. He's looking to hit his 1.3 million by March 13, and that will be the 2-year anniversary of hitting the original 1 million, obviously back in 2014. So,
man, that shovelware, you can just fly with all that shovelware.
Yeah, so that's 300,000 points in 2 years is pretty good. 150,000 a year. I'm not sure what the record is for the most in 1 year. I did see it somewhere. Anyway, that's sort of what I've got. And I'll be in a later episode. I'll be basically doing a bit more of a general recap of the leaderboards. So I'm going to start tracking them and give some report backs on that. But that's what I've got for that. So we've also got the new games and achievement notifications on True Achievements.
Cranny, came out today.
Yeah, Cranny, did you want to have a bit of a...
Yeah, they're pretty cool. So this is kind of, like our knobs and discos, but you can get notifications now when challenges come out, which is cool because challenges are pretty hard to track.
And X Towers was particularly excited about that one. It's been something he's been asking for ages, and that's kind of what prompted his whole newsletter about challenges.
Well, and you were saying
he's excited
before,
even though his job got replaced by a robot.
Yeah.
He just got downsized.
And there's also a server closure notification. So when there's a known server closure, you will get a notification in various periods. You have to turn these all on, I should note. But you get a notification in certain periods as that date approaches to make sure you don't miss it. And if you're a pro member over on TA, you can get notices when the obtainable flag changes. So you get a notification when the discontinued or unobtainable flag is either added or removed. I don't know if this includes partially discontinued and unobtainable.
From the announcement, I don't
doesn't.
think it. Yeah, from the announcement, I don't think it does, but it perhaps should, because that can be a tricky one.
Yeah, and I noticed in the comments there were a couple people that brought that up. So I do think that that's probably worth adding personally. But at the very least, the discontinued unobtainable is a great start. And if you're a pro member, that's a great feature, because you can not only notice when something goes bad, is when it comes back or is fixed.
Yep.
So
and you've got options there to choose that for just the games you own or all games.
Or the games in the My Collection.
Yeah.
So, if you don't have them on your card, but you want to put them in your My Games collection, it's a great place to do that. And word of advice, if you're interested in my contest, I would fill out your games collection. Just as a, piece of advice.
Are you going to be pulling achievements from there?
I think that's what we.
Or
is
that need to know information?
No, I mean, because that's why there's going to be a long gap in between the official announcement and the start, was that so people can get their.
You'll get notifications there, but if you would go through your collection and just mark what you do and don't own still and that sort of stuff, it's you'll get a heads up, or you'll get a head start if you do that now.
That's going to be
especially if a big.
That's going to be a bit of a mess for me. I've got about 3 games in my collection per 1 game on my tag.
Nice.
I think it only matters. It will only matter for ones that are actually already on your tag. So ones that you're in your collection but you haven't started at all, that's not going to matter. It's just a matter of which ones you still own of the ones that you've started.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, crisis averted.
There you go. So just a couple quick pieces of news I want to hit on, more headline type things. But the Division beta, Ubisoft has claimed that 6.4 million people participated in that open beta. That is a ton of people.
That is a lot of people. I think that's actually almost more than the amount of people in, say, my city.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that did break the record. I don't remember what the record was before, but good on that. That was cool. Some news that came out today. Remedy filed. So Remedy, the game studio for Quantum Break, they have filed a trademark for Alan Wake Returns, and this just fueled fire to the wild rumors and speculation on Alan Wake sequel, or Alan Wake 2. That they've kind of already talked about having ideas for, and now that Quantum Break is gold, they can shift some focus to next projects. So we'll see. I loved Alan Wake, so that's why I wanted to mention it. It's fun. And then finally, in my quick hitters, Jay and Silent Bob have launched a Fig campaign. Now, Fig is the Kickstarter, is similar to Kickstarter in the sense that you donate money to a project, but Fig is actually through Valve and other prominent video game industry persons. We actually invest in the game, and there's a return on your investment. So based on some figures that they put together is like, if you invest this much money, you should expect this much back over X period of time. Typically it's a little bit. And I even looked at their campaign. It's not even that much on the front end. It's like for $18, you'll get yourself a copy of the game. I don't know where you get to like the investment levels, if it's like a kind of a mix between Kickstarter and stuff. But they did say that one of it's not officially a stretch goal, but they have every intention of porting this over to PS4 and Xbox One. And it's going to be a Castle Crashers style brawler, which I love those types of games. Let's put it this way. It will easily get the M rating if it won't get worse. But it's called, Jay and Silent Bob Chronic Blunt Punch, I think. So you'll have to take a look.
Well, it might not be coming to Xbox One if it gets worse, so we'll hope for M, I suppose.
We'll take a peek. But so anyway,
Yeah,
it's
so
kind of fun. I
will
like
that
those
make
movies.
it to shovelware or not? This is the question.
Who knows?
That is a great question. That is a great question. And then the kind of the more meaty news topics. One, not so much, but I'm calling this the bully pulpit. This is where I'm going to give a big thumbs down to the bullies out there. The first one, and maybe bully's the wrong word for this, but Naughty Dog.
We're a bit naughty.
They were quite naughty. For the Uncharted 4 theatrical trailer, there's a scene where there's a picture above a fireplace that they're zooming in on, and some intrepid people said, "Hey, wait a minute! I think I've seen that picture before." Oh yeah, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag has that picture, and then you look at a side-by-side screen, and it is a direct ripoff from Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed 4 artwork. I mean, even to the point where like they've included this little boat that's on there. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. I don't know how this dude thought he wasn't going to get caught. And perhaps he hasn't gotten caught on previous things, but it was so egregious that Naughty Dog actually released an apology. Here's their apology. In our eagerness to get the story trailer out, we made a regrettable mistake and didn't thoroughly vet the artwork used for an in-game painting. We've already updated the trailer and hold all artistry in high regard and take full responsibility for having allowed this to happen. We sincerely apologize to everyone at Ubisoft, the Assassin's Creed team, and the original artist, and of course our fans, Naughty Dog. So, issuing an apology for blatantly stealing somebody else's art, that's naughty, Naughty Dog. Go sit in a corner. Or rub your nose in it.
It does make me wonder, though, what else have they stolen? Because, if it's that obvious, they've probably done it before, but I don't know, maybe
It's
not. Maybe I'm just pessimistic, because I guess am.
You kind of wonder about things like that, though. I mean, often when they're building things like that, they'll use placeholder assets, and so they'll borrow things from elsewhere or just things that they might have around. It may well have been a case of that where they put a placeholder in and then they forgot it was a placeholder and they didn't replace it with something more appropriate, and it leaked out into the real trailer. On the other hand, it could be a sign of the person who did it in particular is doing that sort of thing all the time. Who knows? But I wouldn't be too hard on them, because it could have just been placeholder and they just missed it.
No, and
It's possible.
I think it reflects highly too that they kind of took the initiative. I mean, maybe there was some legal action threatened, but they did take the initiative to change it, take it down, and apologize before Ubisoft was like, "Hey, we're going to sue you." So,
yeah,
maybe they did say that and we didn't see it. But if that's the case, I think that's
at the very least, somebody
to do.
Somebody at Ubisoft probably sent them a WTF kind of email or something.
Right? So for whatever reason, everyone feels like they should be picking on Ubisoft. But so this is kind of the most egregious of the news pieces. So I mentioned at the top of the show, Vivendi is this huge French media conglomerate. And they have blatantly launched a hostile takeover bid of Gameloft, the mobile game company. They made an offer of €6 on all the outstanding shares. So they've climbed up to get 30% of their shares, and they're offering €6 to buy up to get a majority stake. And you can reject that as an offer, but it is 50% over what the stocks are going for right now.
I'll say too is it's pretty common with acquisitions that whoever's acquiring the firm is way, way, way overpaying for whatever they're acquiring, because and especially in a hostile takeover is like, you got to get those shares from people that don't really want to sell them, probably.
Right. So Gameloft found out about it, and they shut down the trading of their shares. They've locked it down. They said, "This is hostile. What's your deal? I don't want you to take over our company." So the reason that Ubisoft gets tied into this is that back in October, Vivendi went and they bought up a bunch of Ubisoft. So they had 6%, and then they increased it up to 10%. And at the same time, they increased Gamelofts up to 10%. And so now they're thinking, well, hold on now. So Vivendi's sitting at 15% of Ubisoft, and the CEO, Yves Guillemot, and his family, the people who created the studio, they only have 9% of the company. And so they're not happy about this, of course.
It's worth noting that Ubisoft and Gameloft, the two CEOs, I think, are actually brothers. So there's a family link there as well.
I didn't know that.
I think they were both founded by the same people. I think that's what it was.
That's right. Yeah, the Guillemots. Yeah. There it is. So Ubisoft is absolutely saying, like, get out of here. We don't want to sell to you guys. We don't want any of this. Vivendi, they were into the video game industry. They had an 85% stake in the Activision Blizzard back in July of 2013. So like and I'm getting all this information from Fortune, by the way, fortune.com.
That'll be in the show notes.
Yeah, so you can take a look at this article. But so, they sold their stake in Activision Blizzard for $8 billion, which that's probably a pretty good chunk of change. Well, now they're thinking, we should probably get back into that gaming industry. And so they're eyeballing these, up-and-coming studios, or, up-and-coming. I mean, Ubisoft's a big studio, but not big enough to...
is the king of shovelware. I mean, we'll put that out there. But
that too. So, look, I don't... This happens in business all the time. That's just the nature of it. There's money to be had. Yes, they're likely going to have to overpay to get it, but in the long run, I think they're looking at, the growth of the industry, the possibilities in, what they can do from a marketing standpoint, having the IPs that Ubisoft is a part of. I mean, there's some hugely well-known franchises in there and some fantastic properties that they'd love to get their hands on. And then, of course, Gameloft with their huge spread into the mobile market. I mean, it's exactly right up their alley. So I just don't approve of it. I think it's just gross and underhanded, and it's not cool, Vivendi. So I put you guys on blast. This you guys got to just go away.
No, I'm gonna have to go from the other standpoint. See, I'm the finance guy, so
let's hear it.
So I don't know. I think it's a consequence of going public. Is when you go public, and especially if you go public and sell a lot of your shares. Like if you don't hold a good chunk of your own shares, that's just a risk you take. And if somebody comes along and buys you, well, you shouldn't have taken so much debt. I don't know. That's the way I look at it. But I don't know.
I mean, that's fair. It's a fair statement. I still don't think the practice is very ethical. Maybe
they could have gone about it in a better way, but I think they probably knew that Ubisoft was not going, or Ubisoft / Gameloft / that family was not going to cooperate. Yeah. So
no, that's true.
That's what they have to do. But I should also note that I am not a fan of going public. I think I don't want to say it's a very bad choice, but if I was running a business, I would do everything in my power to avoid going public. That's just kind of my thing. That. But so that's kind of my standpoint on that.
To me, it harkens to like I have my if my son has his money and he's like, yeah, I want to, I really want to do something with this money, and I know he's going to make a terrible decision, so I say, yeah, okay, yeah, go ahead and do what you need to do, and then when your money's all gone, guess what? Daddy comes in and takes whatever you had because I got more money than you. Like, it's, that's a tough way to learn a lesson. To say, you guys should have known, and
yeah,
and instead we're just gonna punish you and ruin your lives and your business. So thanks for building it up for me. And that's a very crude and rudimentary way of saying it.
I suppose you could look at it too that, hey, they're going to take it anyway. We'll sell you 9% of the company at double what it's worth, or whatever it was. I don't know. If you want to cash out, I don't think they do.
Fair.
But
I don't think so either. I mean, Yves, the Guillemonts have been on stage at all the E3s. I mean, they talk about their studio. I feel like they really love their company and what they do at Ubisoft, and the wide variety of games. Tell you the truth, I mean, they're probably one of my favorite developers.
See, they were for me, but they've kind of dropped the ball lately. But yeah, historically, I think they're generally pretty good. But I don't know. I guess it comes down to is I think a lot of people don't realize the risks of going public and the downsides, like hostile takeovers. So I definitely agree with what you're saying. Is it's a hard way to learn a lesson. If you founded this company, you own a good chunk of it, then $8 billion comes along and buys half the shares.
Right, it wipes you out.
Yeah.
I mean, that being said, look, I can't say that it's completely their. I mean, they're a large company with lots of money. They likely have access to financial advisors to say it's probably not that good of an idea to take that much debt, don't you think? You might want to hang on to maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, a little bit more your shares. And the other thing too is Ubisoft may be big enough that they can do something to outbid Vivendi. And they may have to buy their shares at way more than they're worth, but they might be able to do something like issue debt that is not, well, I mean, I guess shares aren't debt, but they kind of are, issue bonds or something to raise a lot of money really quickly to prevent that hostile takeover. So, we'll see. And especially if they see it coming from Gameloft, they've got a bit more time to make
do something about it.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess the other question as well is if Vivendi do end up taking over those companies, what's going to happen to them? What does that actually mean? Does it mean, okay, they're successful companies and it just means that Vivendi gets a cut now? Or is it that Vivendi actually want to change the way that they do business? And I guess that's more the end result for us as gamers is what happens to those companies and what they produce. I don't see Vivendi stopping Ubisoft doing what they do or Gameloft doing what they do because they're highly successful. So it may not actually end up meaning much to us as gamers from the end result. But it is kind of sad from the perspective of the founders of those companies losing or potentially losing their business.
And they may intend to let the current management stay. And like you said, maybe they just want to cut. Maybe they want to let Ubisoft run as it is now, but also have access to those IPs for some other project that they have a plan for.
Sure.
From another team.
They're a media company, right? The Assassin's Creed movie, they want to get the movie franchise going or pull some other IPs for some movies or TV shows. That's entirely possible.
Now, aside from the knowing that shares tend to sell for way more than they're worth during any kind of acquisition, I'm not a big expert on takeovers and acquisitions and things, so I don't know if that's common to let management stay, but I suspect in a hostile takeover they probably don't plan on letting them stay. So who knows? It'll be interesting to see how it moves along and what ends up happening.
So my two comments are, I look at the company that Vivendi had stock in prior to this, and it's Activision Blizzard. And if I look at Activision Blizzard's model, I don't like that model because it is annualized franchises with ridiculously priced DLC and season passes on all of their large franchises. I'm sure, there's exceptions. Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, they can operate, make great games, and then they find ways to make, just extort money out of all the gamers out there. So I don't want that to happen to Ubisoft. And secondly, and this is just kind of a wishful thinking type thing, but I'd be really disappointed if the reason Ubisoft sold all his shares, or that they're holding such a slim portion of the company, is like, we just want to make a ton of really great games, and so we have so many teams, we just want all these, because you look at their releases and there's just so many releases that they have between their small UbiArt studios and the large franchises all over the globe. Like, I would be really disappointed if that's why they don't have a huge shares, because they just want to make games for people, and they just spread themselves out a little too thin to protect against this type of thing.
I guess it would be a real shame if Ubisoft ended up shuttering a bunch of those studios in order to recoup money, in order to buy back their shares and guard themselves against this. It seems like that would be a pretty bad result, I think, out of this. Agreed.
So, say what you will, that is happening, and we'll kind of keep an eye on it, especially if it affects the the types of games that are going on. Hey, is Gameloft going to be able to make, because they've started adding achievements, right? I hope they don't ruin.
Yeah, they haven't had anything for a while, I don't think. I think
they seem to have.
I think was the last one.
They seem to have mostly gotten out of the Windows Phone achievement space anyway. I think they still release games for it, but not achievements. So
gotcha. Most of them are pretty bad anyway.
Yeah.
the final piece of news, and I mean that talk could have been our feature content, but we have a little bit of extra to kind of discuss here. Fallout 4's mod support was announced. That's coming in April. That the PC mods, which I hope you've seen some of these, because they're just fantastic. Like turning the Death Claws into Macho Man Randy Savage, and a lot of skin stuff. And I mean, one of them was Buzz Lightyear as your power armor. But so they've got that announced coming out in April. And just kind of a quick question to the group: what do you think these mods are going to end up doing to Gamerscore? Do you think if you apply a mod, it's going to shut down the achievement getting possibilities, or could there be some things to maybe make life a little easier that don't negate unlocking achievements? Just kind of curious what you guys think.
Traditionally, mods like that, and I think looking at, say, Minecraft and how it deals with that, it has essentially its own inbuilt mod section called creative mode. But as soon as you activate creative mode, you cannot get any achievements from that. And I think that tends to happen in a lot of games because they want to avoid you getting those achievements or getting the content like that very easily. It's right. not in all cases though. Certainly there are some games. I know that in Halo ODST, I believe, or might have been Reach, there were some of the achievements for Firefight could be gained within a modified level. So you could go into Forge mode and create a level and use that to then unlock some of the achievements really easily. And certainly in the later Halos as well, I think you can earn some of the achievements in various sort of variants of the Forge kind of levels. Right. So yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but who knows how they'll do that. I guess Fallout 3, the earlier versions of Fallout also had mod support as well on PC, didn't they? And I guess we could look at historically whether or not Steam achievements were disabled at that point with mods.
I think Fallout 3 actually just recently got Steam achievements.
Right.
Because prior to that, I was going to say, I think they're not going to disable achievements. Because if you look at, this is kind of piggybacking what you're saying, is if you look to Fallout 3 on Games Windows Live, they had a dev panel in the game that you could just type in
and
add achievement 1, add achievement 2,
right.
and it would pop them.
I do wonder if that was a mistake, though. I'm not sure that was necessarily put in there by design so that you could go and unlock the achievements. I feel that might have been a bit of an error. But
I'm kind of thinking they just didn't care. Because Fallout, I don't know if this is true for all Bethesda games, but I know at least, I think Skyrim and definitely both the Fallouts had huge, they were, to my knowledge, designed to make it easy for people to mod them. And they have humongous modding communities, like huge, all kinds of mods. And I kind of suspect that they just intended that and didn't really care about achievements. So they're like, whatever, you can type them in if you want. Here's the dev panel so you can mod. That's why we put it there. We want you to mod this game because it's fun and more people buy it. And I mean, modding on a console version is new, so it could be different, but my guess is they probably don't really care. And if you want to make a world pop all the achievements, then that's what you want to mod.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and like you said, historically, that's kind of the case. And you look at, I mean, to a lesser extent, but games that have creative modes like this, Minecraft, you can set up a world to facilitate getting achievements. Project Spark, creative tools. There are achievements related to making stuff, but you can also there is an achievement hunter section in the game where people have made maps for you to get achievements.
So I guess it really comes down to whether the developers actually actively care about guarding their achievements from that sort of activity, and it seems that Bethesda does not really. So
it's possible, yeah. So that's kind of cool. But anyway, like I said, short little conversation, and now we're moving into the Shovelware Cemetery. Crandy, what can you tell us?
Shovelware Cemetery. So I want to start off with what is shovelware, because we've been talking about shovelware. I talk about shovelware. I say it's bad, but I think we need to do a quick kind of intro, and it's appropriate that this is the first Shovelware Cemetery on what is shovelware. So according to Wikipedia, shovelware is a derogatory computer jargon term that refers to software bundles noted more for the quantity of what is included than for the quality or the usefulness. And that is exactly my definition of shovelware, except for the bundles. See, kind of in the 90s, when computer hard drives weren't so big, but CDs were common enough that people had CD drives. They were much bigger than hard drives, typically way bigger than floppy disks. So these games people were making didn't take up all the space on disks. Or the older games that were typically shareware or free public domain type of games, they just take a bunch of those, shove them all on a disk, and then sell it. And
I played so many of those games growing up.
Oh, yeah,
They're
me
fantastic.
too. I had a few, and they were just trash. They just shovel them on, and that's kind of where shovelware originated. Now, there's a few other instances. It can also refer to low-budget, poor-quality games. An example in the Wikipedia article is, this was kind of notorious on the Wii, that were bad ports of PS2 games that were previously only released in Europe. They just kept pumping them out. I don't remember what they were. There's a whole list somewhere in Wikipedia. I've seen it before, but things like that where just there's not a lot of thought or effort put into it, and you just want to get it in, get it out as fast as you can, try and cash in on it, which is unfortunately a lot of the indie stuff, in my opinion. It's just keep shoveling it and just more trash. So now we'll move into Shovelware Cemetery. And in Shovelware Cemetery, we're going to decide, okay, do we set it free or do we bury it? Set it free, it's acceptable. I'm not saying it's good, but it's at least acceptable. Maybe it's good. Depends.
There's some semblance of effort or care by the developer.
Yes, something. We're going to be pretty generous. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how bitter
Depends
I
on
get
how
as this goes along. And then if we bury it, it's trash. Shovelware. For sure, shovelware. Okay. So this week, courtesy of Uber Strategist, I played Hero Defense Haunted Island on Steam. So currently this is on Steam Early Access. It may come to Xbox. I don't know. I haven't reached out to the developers yet, but I do plan on it, so I'll do an update on the next Shovelware Cemetery if I've heard back from them. And And this one was actually not too bad. It's especially for the price point. They intend to release it for $15 or a regional equivalent. It's kind of got. I'm going to start off with the bad, then I'll move to the good. So it claims to be kind of a combination of a MOBA, a tower defense game, and an RPG. Which,
wow, that's a lot of things to combine into.
Yes, and they're kind of related, but they're kind of not. So I felt like it was kind of spreading itself too thin in that sense, in that it really didn't feel a whole lot like any one of those. If I was gonna slap it in one genre, I'd probably put it in tower defense. But you don't have traditional towers; you just have heroes. So you can unlock up to 5 of them. They all have different abilities and have different costs to place them. And once you place them and they're on the map, you have to move them around. So they're not stationary, and you have to move them around the map strategically to stop the line of enemies from getting to the end. So
is it isometric, or how's the view?
It's kind of a top-down. I would call it top down, but it's not quite. It's kind of angled, and the camera moves a bit as you move around the map, and so it is 3D, and there's different heights and angles and stuff. So as you move around, it kind of optimizes the viewing angle, and it was kind of weird at first, but I didn't really know what I was doing. So once I got into it, it was pretty good. The camera was actually very good at positioning itself to give you a good view of what you're up against. So it was good in that regard, and the character variety was good. So every enemy has a weakness, and every hero is the strength against that weakness. So I didn't get far enough to unlock all the heroes yet. There's still one more. But the difficulty curve is pretty good. It does a pretty good job of kind of easing you into it, and it looks good. It looks polished. It's not, as far as I know, has not been officially released yet, and I didn't encounter any bugs. It looks good. It plays very well, so it's not terrible. We're gonna set it free.
Hooray!
I had fun. I played it for maybe 3 hours, so I had fun with it. The RPG elements are decent. I guess there's more. We're gonna set it free, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit more. I'm
gonna set it free, but
kind of got it premature in there. So yeah, the RPG elements were pretty good. You level up as you do different goals. I did find, though, that once you got to a certain point in the game, it just kind of felt like you were grinding levels to move on. So, like, you would play a bit of a level, lose because you were kind of underpowered, and then you got some XP for it, and then you do it a couple more times, and then you'd eventually level up a bit more and be a bit more capable. So I didn't like that about it.
Getting that balance right is very tricky with any kind of RPG, though.
And they may tweak it, and maybe it was just me not knowing what I was doing. It wasn't horrible. Like, it's definitely not like a game breaker or anything. Then you could customize weapons and abilities. And then it was also fully voice acted, which to me shows more effort on their part.
Yeah, level of care for sure.
However, it was kind of weird. I don't want to say it's bad, but it's weird. I don't know if they were kind of going for a more over-the-top thing, because it's kind of like, it's almost like a kind of a cartoony, like, kind of like Halloween Town kind of look to it. You know, like kind of Halloween-y, cartoony, kind of spooky look. And I don't know if they were going for that kind of voice acting to go with the look, because it did work in that way, and it's kind of like a little over the top. Or if they weren't going to, I don't know. And some of the stuff they were saying is kind of... They would talk about upgrading their skills all the time. Like, they would just have a conversation and be like, oh, we need to keep upgrading our skills to fight them off. It's like, I know that. Like, and it's not like when you lose. Like, this is after you beat a level. They're talking to each other about upgrading their skills.
So it's a little bit of fourth wall almost.
Yeah, it was
it's like
that's kind of weird. And there were like a few weird things like that in the dialogue. The story's okay. Like, it's not amazing, not terrible. I mean, I don't think it's really a story-driven game. And they also intend to add head-to-head multiplayer. I have no idea how that's going to work. It's not in the game yet, but it's planned as a free update in the future, so that'll be interesting.
So, inclusive to you setting it free, I think the other telling piece is, will you revisit it?
Probably not. I would if it was on Xbox. I'll put it that way. I wouldn't... I would finish it if it's on Xbox, for sure. No doubt. Because, I mean, I finish everything, but... I mean, it was a pleasant enough game that I'm not gonna, like, really hate going back to finish it. Like, it was enjoyable enough that I'd play through the whole game with the achievements. The achievements on Steam were not bad. They were quite reasonable. There's a bunch of story ones, and there's, like, get a certain number of kills that you'll just get as you kind of move along, and I think there's a couple other specific ones, but it would have been a pretty reasonable, normal achievement list. So yeah, we're gonna set that one free. There was definitely some effort there, and you know, it was fun for the bit I played it, and yeah, if it was on Xbox, I'd probably play it again. I don't know if I'd buy it, but you know, it was given to us, so.
Why don't you say the game and the company again?
Yes, so that, again, was Hero Defense Haunted Island from, I believe the developer is Uber Strategist, and the publisher is Happy Tuesday. I may have mixed those up. So, courtesy of Uber Strategist and Happy Tuesday, and or Happy Tuesday. I don't know. Hero Defense Haunted Island. So, you can buy it on Steam or Humble. I think it's on Steam Early Access. Or it will be. I don't know.
Yep.
And we'll have links to it in the show notes,
yeah.
so
Yep.
you can track it down that way if you are interested. Well, awesome. Thanks,
and now
Randy.
we got one more, as I said,
okay,
kind of unplanned. We're going to talk about Roblox. Now, I can tell you before I even start, this one's getting buried. It's buried before it even started, okay? Roblox sucks.
Spoilers!
Roblox sucks. Even for, like, 5-year-olds, Roblox sucks.
Well, it's to be fair, though, I went and actually just read a little bit of the history about this game, and it's actually pretty popular.
Oh, no, I know it's popular.
So,
which is...
Yeah.
You can make up to $40,000 a month playing Roblox, apparently. They will pay you up to $40,000, like, depending on how much, like, Roblox money you get.
Yeah, I guess the thing about it is the whole being able to create your own worlds, and there's you can script all of the events, and it's another kind of world building kind of game. But
except it looks like it's from like 15 years ago.
Yeah,
like really, it really does. Like
it's not a great looking game. I'll give you that.
It's not great looking. It's not great working. I gave it half a star. It is not often I give games half a star.
How did it even get a half?
Well, because that's the minimum.
What? Oh, okay.
So
I was going to say, because there's achievements?
You can't give it 0. But see, I would have given it 1. But it lost half for having microtransactions. So, just for reference, I don't know if you guys ever played Bug Village on Windows Phone.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I think I've probably dived it, yeah.
Well, Bug Village is not a game. Bug Village is like... It's supposed to be a village of bugs that you like kind of have as like bug pets or something. I don't know. But let me tell you, that is not a game, but it had achievements, and what a disaster. That is a half-star game. Tony Hawk Ride, I gave it half a star, but I didn't give it enough of a chance. I think I'll probably still give it half a star. Maybe it'll get 1, but that's a half-star game by my standards. Half-star game by my standards doesn't work. Or barely works, and has microtransactions. So I'm looking at, like, you got, like, that runner game that's just like your arms fall off and your legs fall off and then you just fly forward.
Oh yeah.
And
Speed run.
yes, yeah, that one. And then there's like the survive the disaster where you just like you're just thrown on an island and there's like a building and then something happens and you have there's no sound. I don't think.
Yep, it's completely quiet,
Yeah.
and then a disaster strikes, and you have to outlast everybody else or survive for a certain period of time.
And the thing that I don't get is what's
things
the
happen.
what's the point of even winning? Like, it doesn't even feel rewarding when you like finish one of these games. It's like, here's some tokens or something that you just know. Like, what did they do? You can. It's so bad.
It's hideous.
so bad. And like on the Xbox One, I don't think you can create worlds. You can just spend money on cosmetic things, like real money. Like, it's amazing.
It's egregious.
It's amazing. And it crashes on launch like 80% of the time. I don't know if that happens to you guys, but it happens to me.
I haven't had a problem with it crashing.
Okay, because it'll launch and then it'll take too long to launch, and then the Xbox kills it, and you have to try it again.
No, actually, I did get that once, but I thought that was just because Xbox was the actual live service was having problems at the time.
No, I think that's Roblox.
Okay. Well, the live service was having problems at the time, so maybe it was a combination.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, the only thing this game has going for it is it's an easy 1,000.
It really is.
It's
and even then,
easy.
like,
As long as you don't do a frame,
as long as you don't
it's
pull
an
a
easy
frame,
1,000.
but I mean, it still takes 20 days. Like, see, I was really excited.
There's no way to shortcut that either.
I was really excited because I wanted to play Roblox, ironically, but it's not even a fun bad. Like, I was thinking it's going to be fun bad.
Now, the nice thing about checking in, though, you don't actually have to play anything. You literally have to hit A on the start menu,
that's
and
true.
that counts as logging in.
That is true.
So you literally just have to boot it up and read the word Roblox, press A, and then you can move on your merry way. So.
Yeah, I wonder if we can get Yellow Lego Guy's opinion on Roblox.
He was actually just introduced to Roblox, is my understanding.
Ooh, okay.
When it was on his father's Xbox when we were playing Roblox.
So we should.
My son loves Roblox.
We'll get the rebuttal.
Well, play him Well, you should play him my rant.
No, I told him because he keeps asking for it. And he's like, "Hey, can I play? We like that cube game where you like just have a one dot cube."
That's a great. Oh yeah. Yes, the cube, the cube eat cube.
Cube eat cube.
See, that one was
so
kind of
that
fun,
was like that was like my go-to game because it was the only one I could tolerate playing. And so
it's still
he's like, "Let's just play that."
Though.
No, it is terrible.
So
and then and so like he'll ask, and I'll say, "Well, in my head, I'm thinking." All right, there's no achievements left. Hey, how about we play a game, a different game? And I'll suggest a game that's like, well, we can
Roblox,
work on
game.
We can work on Rayman. We can work on Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time. You could co-op Guacamelee with me.
We could work on not Roblox. Like,
yeah.
You need to introduce your son to Gummy Bear as well.
Right.
You got a new buddy. Like, they can be besties.
There you go. So I think collectively,
we're
all burying this.
One more note on Roblox. The other game I just remembered is the one where you make a cloud and then you have like kind of a rocket launcher thing and you just like shoot and it doesn't go where you're looking and then you just kind of float in the air and like other people float in the air right below you. I have no idea what was going on in that game, but it was a disaster. Like this is like my entire. Nothing in that game makes sense.
No, it's
like someone who was 5 was like really good at coding, but really bad at art, and they just like made this thing that is Roblox. That's just like I can make squares, like I can write them in code, and they just stick together. And
anyway, I won't say that I'm probably a little bit more forgiving of it because I think there is something there. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a successful game, and certainly we're not the target market for it.
There might be something there on the version that, unless you can do it on Xbox, I don't know how. But there might be something there in the PC version where you can actually customize stuff. But
Yeah.
as far as I could tell, there was no customization on Xbox. It was just like, here's like 15 horrible games that are like the best of Roblox.
Well, I suspect that
play
you could probably actually make a customized version on something else that gets uploaded to their store, and you may then be able to play it on the Xbox. I'm not sure if that's how it works. But in any case, I won't go as far as burying it, but I certainly don't know that I'd let it free either.
I'm going to bury it. That's buried.
I'm with you.
That's buried.
Buried.
All right.
There we go. All right, let's move on to backwards compatibility roundup. We got just 3 entries, 2 new announcements. Geometry Wars Retro Evolves is now available, and Carcassonne. I love Carcassonne. That game's super fun. I like playing the actual board game of Carcassonne, but it is nice when the computer calculates all your victory points for you. Then we did get an announcement that Doom, Bethesda's Doom that's coming out in the spring here, will come with Doom 1 and Doom 2 as a pre-order bonus for backwards compatibility in the ever-growing trend of throwing your old titles as a pre-order bonus. So,
see, I really
Doom
like
1
that
and Doom
trend.
2.
Did they know? Too. Did they say it was coming with the physical pre-orders too, or just the digital ones?
That I don't know.
Oh, okay. I'm guessing it's probably digital, but we'll see. I was kind of hoping they would do the Doom 3 BFG, because that was one that I need to go back and do. I was hoping to do it before Doom 4, but Doom. But I'm thinking that's probably not going to happen unless Grog gets done this week, but I don't think that's going to happen.
So yeah, backwards compatibility. We also have our Knobs and Discos content where we talk about unobtainable and discontinued achievements, and we've got one item of note here. Crandy, why don't you take this away?
We've got, unfortunately, Halo 4. The challenge-related achievements are hopefully temporarily discontinued. The challenges are not, like, the server is down or not working or something for challenges, so no new challenges are being posted. I think it affects 2 or 3 achievements. My understanding is the developers are aware of it, or this has happened in the past. So there was some talk of it probably going to be fixed. But that's something you might want to keep an eye on if that's a game you plan on completing for when that gets fixed, if it gets fixed.
That's one on my list. I think there's an achievement for getting something like 25 challenges, which I still need to get in that. So yeah,
there's nothing huge with them. So if it's working again, I think you can get it in a couple of days or a couple.
Yeah,
sittings
it's probably
or something. It's not terrible.
No.
Fantastic. All right, and we do have one game delay if anyone cares. Assetto Corsa. It's a simulation racing game, was pushed back to June. So if you were chomping at the bit for that game that I've never heard of, but I don't like racing games, so don't hold that against me. And finally, wrapping up the show is the Zombie News Corner. We got an announcement from Capcom that Resident Evil, this is the 20th year since Resident Evil has graced us with its presence. And so Capcom, in their effort to get every little cent they can from all of their franchises, has announced that Resident Evil 6 is coming to Xbox One. I think that comes out in June. I forgot the dates. I had them written down. Then Resident Evil 4 in summer, and Resident Evil 5 is coming out. And I'm sorry, that's backwards. 5 comes out before 4, and 4 will come out this fall. So all 3 of them will be, and these are re-releases. I don't know if they've done any remastering to them or if they've done any tweaks to improve the gameplay, but these will actually be releases, not backwards compatibility. And then finally, I found this, and it's unfortunate that, well, there's 2 things unfortunate. A, I don't have any money. B, the Kickstarter is over by the time you hear this. But there is a Walking Dead, they call it the All Out War miniatures game. And it made its goal significantly. The goal was only 50,000, and it's at $500,000 right now, which you're pretty much just pre-ordering is really what this is. It is, so those of you who are Warhammer players, the tabletop strategy war game, It's essentially that. You have little figures, and you play as, and it's based on the comic book. They must have gotten the rights to do that. But you have all the comic book characters of Rick and Carl and Sandra, all these people, and then they've got the walkers as well. But apparently, it's like Survivor against Survivor. You move your dudes around, and then if you make too much noise while you're looking for stuff, zombies will come out and take you down. I have like 5 Warhammer armies. I used to play a ton when I was in high school. That, unfortunately, is a hobby I had to kill when I started playing video games and then started a family, which some might say is a terrible idea. I would much rather play games all day. But this looks super fun. And for, I think it was like $115, you got the full set. Like you had every piece and all the rules and all this cool stuff. So if you're interested, if you like Warhammer and you like zombies like I do, this is right up my alley. Take a look. So it's called The Walking Dead All-Out War Miniatures Game. The Kickstarter will be over. It's by Mantic Games. That's at manticgames.com. That'll be in the show notes. Yeah, it's pretty darn cool.
So that's even more relevant now as this transition. I meant to talk about this in what I was playing this week because that's kind of where it fits, but it does also kind of fit in Zombie News Corner. This morning I played the Zombies board game, builder board game, with my wife and father-in-law, and that was always a fun game. So now whenever I do zombie things, like zombie games, I just have to talk about it on the podcast. Yeah.
Right?
So
wait, what is this called? Builder?
You've never played Zombies? Like zombies, 3 exclamation marks. Yeah, there's a couple games. One on Windows 8, one on Windows Phone. I think they're both delisted.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with those.
Yeah. So we were playing that this morning. That's a fun one. If our listeners never played it, I don't think they're too expensive. They take a lot of space. You gotta get a good chunk of space dedicated to get the full extent out of the board. But that's a fun game to sit down and play, and it's not too complicated, even for people that aren't really into games like that. So
right,
that's a fun
awesome
one. Yeah.
Well, that I think that'll do it for the show, everyone. So don't completely tune out just yet, because we are going to. This will be the longest show ever. So if you don't like long shows, we're terribly sorry. But we are going to tack on the Life is Strange spoiler cast to the end of this. Terrigan, Joe, and I guess I don't know if we haven't recorded it yet. I'm
going to dip out on this one because I haven't played Life is Strange yet.
Yeah, so I hope I'm not committing to something that we haven't, put together. But the plan is to have a discussion about everything Life is Strange, and this will be full-on spoilers. We will talk about all the cool decisions, all the story elements. All 3 of us hugely love the game, so it will be filled with praise and all sorts of cool stuff. We're really going to dive deep, but hopefully not too darn long. But I don't know, because I love the game. So, with that, hang on after the credits. If you have not played the game, if you intend on playing the game, I would completely skip it and revisit it after you played. There is some very significant moments that you do not want spoiled if you can avoid them at all costs. So, thanks again for listening. We really hope you enjoyed it, because it was so much fun to do this and hang out and talk to you guys. So what we would like, though, is if you had a moment to take where you could rate us or review us on whatever podcast app you're listening to. We so appreciate that. And keep the retweets coming. Spread the word. We would love to continue to reach a bigger audience and get a large, awesome gaming community focused on achievements, because it is wonderful. You can see us at our website where we can get this. You can download the show. You can see our show notes, credits, all the links to all the cool stuff that's on there. Z2Z.com. That's ZEDTOZED. And you can contact us at Twitter. That's at Z2Z. Email, contact@Z2Z.com. We've got a leaderboard over at trueachievements.com for the Z2Z podcast, where we will send out notifications, specifically when new episodes are out, or if we've got a community forum topic we want to talk about. It's a great way to reach out to our listeners. Quick shout out to all the sites that make Achievement Hunter reality. This podcast, we love TrueAchievements.com. Couldn't do this without them. Keep your eye out for my contest that'll be launching on TrueAchievements.com. And I got my start over at the Achievement Hounds community in their podcast. So that's a great forum over there. A lot of like-minded individuals. We get tons of news and reviews and information from XboxAchievements.com, and we love Macca and all the individuals at the Xbox Roundtable podcast. And, of course, all of the other dedicated achievement sites out there. And we couldn't do this without Microsoft, of course, for giving us the Xbox. So, on behalf of Crandy and Terrigan, this has been Brandon. And to all you achievement hunters and Gamerscore junkies out there, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next episode. Later.
Keep on trucking.
Thanks for listening.
That's fantastic to hear. Anything new and exciting in your world?
No. Play Gra.
You sound so excited about that too.
Oh,
Why are you leaving me hanging?
Thrill. Play Gra. It was great.
You really don't need to do that.
Don't tell me what to do.
Oh, I'm a gummy bear. Yes, I'm a gummy bear. Oh, I'm a yummy, tummy, funny, lucky gummy bear. Oh, I'm a gummy bear. Yes, I'm a gummy bear. Oh, I'm a moving, grooving, cabin, singing gummy bear. Oh, yeah. Ba-ba-doo-doo-doo-yum-yum. 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 3 times you can like it. Ba-ba-doo-doo-doo-yum-yum. 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 3 times you can like it. Gummy, 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 gummy bear.
Welcome to the Z to Z podcast, Life is Strange spoiler cast. Now, since I just recently finished this game and I absolutely love it, I want to talk about it because it's so good. I really enjoy it. And of course, I needed to bring some people who have also played the game and have probably played it more thoroughly than I am. So with me here, I have Terrigan, who did you do it on the 360 as well?
Yes, I did it on both platforms.
Okay, so you got both sides covered. I assume you have lots of story angles to go, and we've also got the walkthrough writer herself for the True Achievements walkthrough. Jo returns to have a fun discussion on Life is Strange. How you doing today, Jo?
I am good. I apologize in advance if I sneeze. I appear to have caught a cold.
No, I hear that's a lot of sickness going around. I guess globally, no one can escape.
Mm.
It might be Freembola, because I just started Plague Inc. and Freembola wiped out the population. So
Is that what that post was about? I was going, what the?
Yep.
No, I think I've got conflu, to be perfectly honest, because I went to a conference last week.
Sure. Yeah. Every disease I named with my last name. So Freembola and the Freempox, those all eradicated humanity, but B. coli and the burn, those did not succeed. So, anyway. But that is completely off topic. Oh my God, I love it. It's on my phone, so I can't wait to get it for the Xbox. All right, but here we go. So, spoiler cast, what does that mean? Well, what we're going to do, this is going to be full-on spoilers. So this is your warning. This discussion will delve heavily into major plot points, discussions about activities and events that happen. So if you have not played the game and do intend on doing it, please do not listen and come back and revisit, because these things will be ruined, and that will dramatically change your experience with this game. We will have this segment isolated on YouTube, And so you'll have an opportunity to just view this as an individual piece if you want to come back and redo it. So to start things off, we're going to kind of do an overall impression of the game. Like, we'll leave story details out of it because we'll get to that down the road. But I want to hear, between Terrigan and Joe, what did you enjoy? What was great? What are your overall impressions? So let's start with Joe. What do you think?
Right. Okay, so this was a very strong contender for my Game of the Year last year. I was so excited about it coming out. I bought it on day one. I got the full edition with all the episodes and convinced all my friends to buy it. And yeah, it lived up to expectations, episode 1 through episode 4. I was less happy with episode 5, and I believe, although it's an amazing game, it is a little bit problematic. But overall, I definitely recommend anyone playing it.
Absolutely. So Terrigan, what about you?
Yeah, when I first saw the game appear, I kind of went, that looks interesting, just from a kind of a better Telltale game. Right. And I think I played the first episode through and immediately then bought the season pass because I just knew I was gonna play the whole game through as soon as it came out. Yeah, I probably would agree with Joe that the way the story finished felt a bit sort of. And we'll get to this once we speak about episode 5. But on my second playthrough, once I got to episode 5, it's knowing what was coming. It kind of really affected how I played through the second time. But the overall, the story was great. It really drew you in. I think the thing I sort of appreciated about it as well is, and I just happen to have a thing for this, is sort of strong female protagonists. I tend to like that in games, and also ones that haven't been sort of not focusing on their sexuality as like a thing. It's just that is the person, and you're just doing this stuff, and I kind of appreciate that. And they've done it really well in this. I think that it's Don't Nod is the developer, I believe, and they also did Remember Me, and they did a similar thing with that. So that seems to be their sort of the way they work, which is good. Yeah, but Life is Strange, great story. Yeah. It really sucked me in. There were a lot of moments where you sort of go, oh, holy crap. And you really feel for a lot of the characters too, which is a hard thing to do in a game, I think, to bring people in and really talk to and deal with the characters as if they're actually your friends and people that you care about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the few things that really stuck out to me from experience that I wasn't expecting, was the graphical improvement over the Telltale model. That was, you saw that in episode 1. They did a great job with the opening scene, and you're like, okay, hey, all right, this is looking nice. I'm really going to enjoy this. The second thing was the music. Oh my gosh, oh, yeah. I just loved the music in here, and those moments where Max, the main character, she could sit at her desk or lay on her bed and then just she'll have a little inner monologue going, and you can just let the music breathe, and you can sit there and enjoy an entire song, and she'll just be quiet. And it's like, it's just, I will find myself doing that, like, get up, go progress the game. And it's like, man, but I just really, really like this song. It's just it fits. And all the, a lot of the moments, they had just a really great, a great feel for the music, and you got a really good, strong understanding of her as a person through the musical choices that she had. She'll pop in her earbuds and walk down the hallway to a really melancholy but slightly upbeat, and you're just like, it's a weird sound, but it totally fits the mood that's going on. An outcast, someone who's alone yet still connected to everybody. It's just, it really works. And the final thing is the meticulous attention to detail that Don't Nod put into this game. From every tiny, there are a ton of items throughout the world that you can interact with. And, some of the dialogue is just, it's kind of pointless and dumb. There's some flavor to it, But the fact that they went through every little thing, like, wow, geez, look at how expensive that guy's camera is, or, oh, I just really love these magazines. You know, you can really tell the artistic style here, or whatever. To all just the little nuances with dialogue choices. There were multiple times where you were presented with, you know, a set of dialogue options, and unlike, you know, Telltale games in the past, you kind of knew where your statement was going to land, or if you sided with a character, how that story arc was going to travel. In this one, there was a lot more nuance to those types of conversational pieces, and I didn't feel like there were really those moments where, you know, it would, like, what your option to choose as a dialogue option all of a sudden turned into some weird sentence that was like, "What? No, that's not what I meant to say." Like, what are you doing? That's happened in the past. I always get frustrated with those.
It happens in Dragon Age as well.
Yeah, right.
You pick something and they start talking, and you're like, that's not what I picked.
Right. This took a left turn.
LA Noire is probably notorious for that with the interrogation sequences where you sort of go, okay, I just want to push this guy on this point there, and you go and yell at the guy. It's like, no, right. I don't want to do that.
Right. Right, like, ask him about the grocery store. What were you doing at the grocery store? And just, like, flip out on the guy. And it's like, whoa, not the approach I would have taken there, Cole. Yeah, so I appreciated that. There was a lot more subtlety. There was a lot of nuance to this. So, you know, I think... That being said, I think we all wholeheartedly love this game. So let's kind of take it piece by piece. We'll walk through the story a little bit. There are 5 episodes. You know, each episode takes between 2 and 3 hours. There are photos to take. This is for the achievement part of it. There are photos to take, which are all essentially optional, I believe. I don't think there's any main story.
I think there was one in episode 3 that you actually needed to take in order to progress the story, and I think that's the only one that that was a mandatory, and that was the one where you're in the we'll get to it, but it's essentially when you're back in time and trying to save Chloe's dad.
You don't have to take that.
No,
nope, you don't.
I couldn't work out how to progress without doing that.
There's a second one. That's a different, because you take the first picture and that doesn't count, and then you have to take a second picture, or her dad takes the first picture and then you have to take the second one. Anyway, so yeah, they're essentially all optional. You do get for completing each section, you get an achievement. But so if you're looking to go through this, well, if you're listening to this, you should have already gone through it. The chapter select stuff is great, so that works really well if you happen to miss them on your first time through or your second time through. But so episode 1, right, starts off and you end up on top of this hill in the woods, and there's a giant storm going on. And this, to me, you know, this is kind of this. They really set the stage tonally with this piece of, you know, there's a lot of turmoil, a lot of action going on, and you have no idea what's happening. And then once you get to the top of the hill with the lighthouse, that's where you saw the giant tornado, and the graphics really stood out, and you're like, okay, no cell shaded, no, I mean, this is what we're in for. And that just put a huge smile on my face. I don't know how you guys felt about that opening scene there.
It certainly grabbed your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a cool looking tornado.
Yeah, so it was a bit, didn't really know what to make of it, because like, what the hell, what the who? Is that where you first see there's like a sort of a ghost deer thing? Is that appear in that section?
I don't believe so.
Right.
I don't believe it's at that opening scene. It might be. I mean, that's a running theme.
Yeah, it sort of never gets terribly resolved, but yeah, it certainly does set the scene, and it sets the immediate thing that needs to be resolved, I guess. Sets the story up for sure.
See, I thought it was the other way. I mean, yes, clearly that was to me it was symbolic. I didn't actually, when I did it, I didn't actually think that was a real tornado. I thought that it was symbolic, like, oh, okay, yeah, so something's really terrible happening, this big dark cloud, big dark storm, right? That's very heavy symbolism there. Something's going on that you have to fix. or that has to be resolved to get to this point, because then immediately after that scene you wake up in class and you're like, what the, okay, that's what's happening, and it fast forwards into, or goes back in time, and it says today in class or whatever, and you're hearing this lecture, and you're just like Max, all of a sudden thinking, hey, all right, what's going on here, because I was just there, now I'm here, I don't know what's happening. But like you said, that tornado was something that had to be dealt with. And I didn't think at the time it was like a serious storm. I thought it was a metaphorical storm.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to make of it, whether it was metaphorical or literal. But the funny thing about this is that in light of the overall story, that tornado is appearing before she's actually triggered it. Because we find out later that, the fact that she can move around in time is actually what's essentially causing a lot of the tornado stuff to happen. But this is before it's even begun.
That underlines
which is
a huge problem I have with the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of she hasn't actually triggered the thing yet we're getting this warning. So yeah, I'm not really sure what to make of that.
Well, the whole thing's
I
out
never
of
even thought
whack
about that.
with the time travel anyway, so it could be that we're actually playing it through. She's already lived once already.
Yeah, that's true.
It's entirely possible. So you wake up in class, you start to get an understanding of, I mean, you don't have any powers at this point. You're just playing out the string, learning how to maneuver. It's really a tutorial. And you end up in the bathroom, and all of a sudden, so at the time, I mean, we don't know who these two characters are who barge into the bathroom, Chloe and Nathan. And then I guess I don't know how I felt about, that whole thing that transpired, because obviously at the time, this girl didn't mean anything to me, but it was like, well, I should probably save her. I don't really want this random person to die. And I think obviously you have to do that to progress the story. But like it was just, of course they didn't reveal who she was until I think end of this episode or episode 2.
End of the episode, I believe. Because
I can't remember.
Yeah, because you spend most of your time going around the dormitories, and then it's at the end you find out who it is.
Right, because there's the fight or whatever in the drive.
Yeah, I had a completely different reaction to this scene. I'd spent quite a long time sort of exploring every nook and cranny before going to the bathroom, because I was like, well, that's clearly where the story goes, so I have to look at everything first. And then that scene happens, and your powers are triggered, you wake up and you're like, what just happened? I'm back in the classroom, and my heart is pounding, and I'm going, stop talking, I've got to get to the bathroom, I've got to stop this. And it was really, it just gripped me right from the very beginning.
Sure.
I was really invested in the story.
No, and they did a good job with that, because obviously you had to do it to progress, but you were like, hey, okay, now I have these powers, I can do this, I can go and fix it. Okay, so I mean, even if you just had a rudimentary understanding of the game, like you kind of knew there's some time travel elements to it, and you're like, all right, great, let's go take care of things. So then you do it, and you're presented with your first major decision after you pull the fire alarm, and you're confronted by the principal. With this one, I didn't really feel like, we had a little talk beforehand, so I kept quiet. I was like, look, I don't know what's going on. This dude's got a gun. I'm just going to play it cool, and I'm going to go figure out what's going on. I don't really know what that necessarily impacted down the road, although, Joe, you seem to have some ideas about what that might have led to.
Yeah.
What was your first playthrough?
Well, my first playthrough, I was like, there was no question about it. I was reporting the fact that he had a gun. This wasn't a minor thing. This is not something you keep quiet about because of the whole honor among students thing. This guy has a gun. He shot somebody. He could shoot more people. it is a clear danger. I have a duty to report this. And so I did. I didn't even think twice about it. I mean, afterwards, Max was sort of musing, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said anything because he didn't believe me, but I didn't rewind. I didn't go back. I did do a second playthrough where I did see what happened on the other side of it, and he just thought I looked shifty. So I was like, well, I don't win either way, and at least I've got a clear conscience by reporting him. And it does seem to make a difference, or at least it seemed to me that it made a difference later on, because it gives credibility to your accusations in sort of subsequent episodes, where, you know, so because you reported the incident, you've got credibility when you say that this guy's a problem.
You keep piling on him. Yeah. What about you, Terrigan?
Yeah, I forget. I think you kind of get some hints that Nathan's family is basically got a lot of money in the school, so a lot of what Nathan does is essentially overlooked by the administration, and I think that's kind of where that decision pivots on.
Yeah.
And I've got a feeling, I'm not sure if I did actually, I think I initially went and told on Nathan because that was just my initial instinct, is like, okay, yes, exactly the same as Joe. That's what I would do in real life. It's like if somebody's brandishing a gun at school, you'd go and tell the principal. But then there was this sort of musing afterward, and I'm not sure if I actually changed my decision after that. I've got a feeling I might have. Just because the whole Nathan's family in the back pocket of the principal kind of thing.
Yeah. So, like, before we move on, throughout your playthrough here, did you do a lot of rewinding and second guessing on your decisions, even minor decisions? Or did you just kind of play them through and be like, well, that was my initial instinct and I'm going to ride it out?
Some decisions I would go back and basically just play it through just to see what the dialogue was, and then I go back to my original decision. I sort of like to experiment and see what both sides did. Not with everything. Some I just sort of went, okay, I don't think that's that important, or I'm not that interested. I just want to get on to the next thing. But certainly with some of the major plot points I did. But I generally went the way that I sort of would in real life, I think, for a lot of them, for the first time around anyway.
Right. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I went with my gut a lot of the time. I tend to play these games as if it was me, or at least, you know, the best version of me that would make all the morally right decisions. But sometimes the reaction that I got made me question, not obviously with the principal, because, you know, I was like, I don't care, I have to report this.
Right.
But with, for example, the third decision where you see Kate and David, first of all, I took a photo. I was like, I need evidence of this. And then Kate was so upset that I hadn't stepped in that I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to rewind and step in.
I did exactly the same thing at that point too. I thought, evidence. But Kate was so upset.
Yeah, and I really wish I could have done both, taken the photo and then intervened, because that photo was also really pivotal, you know, to back up when, you know, you were talking about when David was the sort of focus of the investigation and stuff.
Right. Yeah. So when I played, I typically, I would say 90% of my decisions I never went back on. I was just like, nope, this is what it is. I mean, I'm sure there is a branching arc here, and I'm going to rest on the fact that I can't, you know, ruin the experience for me, right? Like, the game won't just end like, oh, yeah, you know, you picked the wrong one, you're done.
Well, you know, there are no wrong decisions. That was the point.
Right. So knowing that was the case, it was like, okay, well, I made my bed. I'm just going to live. I'm going to live with it. But like that instance with Kate and what they affectionately call step dick, for David, I went and intervened right away. I was like, dude, you know my stance on bullying. Get out of here. And I went and, you know, and so I was like, all right, I'm in Kate's good graces. Like, I feel bad for her. I don't know what's going on, but, you know, and then feeling at the end of episode 2 with her, I'm like, yeah, hey, no, I'm on your side, girl. Like, you know, I jumped in there. I got your back. So overall, like, that was pretty much the first episode. You know, kind of what are your overall impressions? Mine rested on, like, they set the stage, but it was mostly a character introduction, a backstory introduction, nothing like, there's not a huge cliffhanger at the end of this one, but it did a good enough job of setting the tone and posing enough interesting branches that you're like, yes, I definitely want to see what happens more, but I'm not like, oh my God, I got to start episode 2 like right now. What about you guys? How did you feel about this one?
Oh, I totally wanted to start episode 2 straight away, but I always have that problem. Yeah, it was very much an intro.
Yeah, and introducing all the major characters, introducing Chloe. I can't actually remember how episode 1 ends.
It was the fight, wasn't it, in the parking lot?
Yeah, and that's right. And then you meet Chloe, and then you're in the truck, and you have that conversation with Chloe, and you realize who she is.
Yeah,
is that the end of the episode there, or I thought there was a bit more to it?
No, I thought that was it.
Or do we start at Chloe's house in episode 2?
I'm going to have a look at the walkthrough.
Oh, yeah, do you wake up in Chloe's house?
Yeah, they start blending together. That's the thing. It's the whole story sort of blends together, and then you forget actually what happens. You get to Chloe's house, you got to fix your camera.
Yep.
And then you've got the whole thing with the argument with David and the gun, and then you've got the cliff, and that's the first time you see the deer. And it ends out with the nightmare. So it sort of ends as it begins. You find out that the nightmare is actually real.
Right.
That's right. And you confide in Chloe about your powers.
Yeah. And so the end of it is sitting down with Chloe and she's saying, tell me everything. That's right.
Which I was actually surprised that, I mean, like, clearly it was a friend, but I was surprised she was so, like, I mean, I guess it fits with her character being kind of isolated and alone, that she wants someone to share with. And I totally appreciated Chloe's reaction to understanding this, like, you're Supermax. Like, oh, you got someone, like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, let's go mess with stuff. Like, I mean, like, that totally fits with exactly, if I found, like, my buddy could, change time, I'd be like, oh my God, this is fantastic. We gotta go do some stuff. So, like, I appreciated the realism there, that it wasn't like, oh, you have a great power. We should change history and do this or whatnot. Like, that would not cross my mind. It would be like, let's mess with stuff first.
Yeah, I guess I found it made the characters very believable, I think. Chloe was actually a very believable character, I think.
Yeah, she's very genuine.
Yeah.
Right. So we move into episode 2. You pretty much start off back in your dorm, and you have an opportunity to you gotta go retrieve something, and so you got to go to Kate's room. And clearly in the first episode something was up with Kate, and we didn't quite know. Knew there was the video floating around, and you kind of got a sense that it was like, well, that's not really her, so something weird's happening here, and she needs help. And then you're presented with a bunch of dialogue choices in her room, and I didn't realize how important it was to pay attention to all the crap in her room. Like, I looked at everything, but I was not paying very close attention to what was going on.
Yeah, and one of those in particular is kind of like your get out of jail free card, if you remember it correctly too, which I didn't.
I did not.
This is where my obsessive, I have to look at everything and read everything, came in very handy.
Right.
I mean, I read everything and looked at everything. I just didn't remember. So,
but you see, I was writing the walkthrough at that point, so I was like, well, I actually got to remember everything as well.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. So then when you're talking to Kate and you kind of get you read all the stuff about how, religious she is and her family. And then she asks you about, what should I do with Nathan? Should I go to the police, or should I get more evidence? And this one, I felt I was making the right decision by saying, well, let's get more evidence, because, Nathan's pretty wealthy. Like, they're not going to just listen to you. We should really get a good case together. And all of a sudden she's like, super pissed about it. And I'm like, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna? He owns the police, right? He owns the town, because that was like the running thread from the first episode, and so I felt justified in my decision, but clearly didn't help in the long run. What about you guys?
I didn't really get a whole sense. I mean, I knew Nathan was blustery because he was like, oh yeah, my dad's really important, but I don't think I twigged particularly that his family owned the town, I was very much like, yeah, you need to go to the police. We probably need to tell the police that Nathan had a gun at school as well. I was like, but it's so hard with this sort of thing, because I mean, even if you have evidence in these sort of situations, a lot of the time people don't believe you either which way.
Yeah, just knowing what happens in real situations like that, it's a very tricky sort of thing. I think I went for go to the police just because I also thought that would send the strongest message that I was actually supporting Kate, even if it didn't happen. So I sort of felt that was the right choice for me anyway.
Sure.
Yeah, I didn't even hesitate at that one. Didn't rewind at all.
So the story progresses a little bit, and I want to draw attention to this particular game mechanic of in the diner, and Chloe's like, let's test your powers. Like, I want you to wow me. And you have to remember everything that's in Chloe's pocket. And it's like, okay, like, I'm remembering these details. Sure, that's not too bad. And you look at it the first time, and then your dialogue options come up, and they're not, you're just identifying things, not terribly specific. And then it moves to like the diner activities where you have to you're like, let's just play this thing out, and you have to really pay attention. Mm-hmm. And I was not ready to pay that level of attention. Like, I think I ended up doing that 4, 5, 6 times to get it right, because I kept missing things. Or, the first thing would happen, I'm like, okay, there's that, and then there's this, and there's this. And, had I done that game mechanic earlier, I probably would have tried to remember more about what I saw in Kate's room, because understanding how important, this memory type stuff is. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have any comments on that at all.
Sorry.
Not so much.
I can talk first if you want. I was just going to say that with the remembering thing, the only bit that actually got me was the currency. Because I had no idea what any of the coins were. And the first time it popped up is how much did she have in her pocket? I'm like, I don't know. Because I looked at them and gone, yeah, there's coins. And then I rewound, and I found that if you went into the help bit of it, it actually told you what the coins were and what that meant, and so you could actually do the sums without needing to know what the American currency looks like.
Okay.
Which was
That's
so,
interesting.
I was so
It never
grateful
occurred
for.
to me.
Yeah, for some reason I didn't really have a problem with the currency. I think the thing that kind of got me was the sequence of actions after that. With the bug that goes down and breaks the jukebox and all of that. I didn't even see that bug.
Oh yeah,
No,
I missed that the first time.
I was like, what?
Yep.
Yeah, so-
they're like, the jukebox went weird, and then there's a cockroach on the jukebox. I'm like,
what?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Maybe it was a squirrel. I don't know what's a cockroach gonna do.
Yeah. So, the memory section, I don't think I had many problems with. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, the story progresses a little bit. There's a major decision about answering Kate's phone call. I didn't think that was that major. To me, it was just answer the call. Why you're with this girl who, she's your best friend. She should understand that you have something serious and something seriously wrong with this girl. That was a non-issue for me.
Yeah, same.
That.
I answered the call,
and I think it was 92% at the end of the episode was would answer the call.
Yeah,
that didn't seem.
Yeah, if you've got two friends and one of them is very upset about things, you answer the damn call. It's that's just what you do.
Absolutely. So we get to the junkyard now, and this little mini game thing, playing with your powers, I thought was pretty fun. And it was the bottle shooting. And, so she misses, and you're like, okay, yeah, you need to aim this way. And you get to the bottles. And then there's that car. And you're like, hey, no, let's do a trick shot. And your options are, shoot the gas can, shoot the bumper, or shoot the, what was it? There's something else you had to shoot.
Might be the wheel or something like that.
Yeah, right? And it was I think I picked, I wasn't shooting a gas can. That was just dumb. But I think I did it anyway, just to see what has happened. Sure. but I did the bumper, and all of a sudden it comes back and kills her. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, this got serious. Like, before it was like, yeah, okay, changing people's dialogue trees, but like, I just killed her because I told her to shoot the wrong thing. Like, that's, and that was surprising. It was great because it was like, oh, geez, yeah, let's just fix that. I guess I should pick something else. But I totally appreciated that as an introduction to, like, kind of the real serious nature of what this power can do.
Well, probably more the serious nature of playing with guns, you silly people.
There's that too. So Frank shows up. Frank is the drug dealer in the town, and he's threatening her. You find out Chloe's deep into debt with him, and so you're at the stage where you pull the gun on Frank. Did you guys even think like, yeah, let's shoot at him? Let's pull this trigger, because I'm kind of a pacifist, so I'm not. It was like, no, I'm not going to be a murderer here. To me, it was like, no, here's your gun. Here's the gun. I'm not going to do anything. What about you guys?
I think I opted for the not shooting the first time. Again, sort of thing. It's like, it's actually, in real life, it'd be very hard to pull a gun on someone and shoot them, particularly if they're sort of only being a bit threatening. They're not actually going to. It doesn't look like they're going to be terribly. I think Frank had pulled a knife at that point. I'm not sure.
Right.
But even so, shooting a gun at someone in real life is a serious thing. So it wasn't something that I would have chosen to do even in that kind of situation anyway. So I'm pretty sure I ended up not shooting.
Yeah,
the second time around, yeah, totally different.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you're getting a better understanding of Chloe and her challenges and understanding her as a character. All these things are building, and how just kind of a disaster she is. And then, of course, she gets herself stuck on the train. And, this, I think she probably got hit by the train 6 times for me. Like, I was just going too slow. Like, because I was under that, like, I kind of want to look at everything. What is that? What is that poster on the wall? Like, even though you can't necessarily interact with all that stuff, and not that I was trying to figure out the mechanics. That probably took 2 or 3 tries, but I was just lollygagging.
Yeah.
And it was,
and you got all the time in the world. It's like,
right. At that point, you're like, yeah, well, nothing's going to happen. So I'm not, so you kind of lose some of that. The real intensity of the moment, knowing,
I think that's actually important because in that particular emergency, you get a little bit blasé with the time travel mechanic, because you know that no matter what happens, you can always go back and fix it. So you don't care so much. And then later, during the cliffhanger, your power suddenly runs out and you're stuck. So I think that actually sets up the importance of not taking the power for granted.
That's a good point, because then that leads, you save her, and that leads directly to the events that happened back at school. And this is what cinched it for me for the game being as amazing as it is. Like, I was totally sold when this happened. And, of course, we're talking about Kate ends up on the roof, and she's going to jump. And so, you shut down time. You battle your way to get there, and you can clearly tell, like, all this time travel stuff now is straining Max. Like, this is too much for her. And you get to the roof, and you're just poof, powers are gone. And like that point, like I think you mentioned it perfectly, Terrigan. You're totally taking everything for granted, and now you're like, crap. What the? I don't even know how to play this game for real now. Right. Like the stakes are so high, and of course, following your walkthrough, Joe, you could always find a way to save her. And I was like, I'm going to do this legit. I'm not going to restart. I'm going to whatever. And I've felt pretty darn good about all my decisions. And then it was the one about her family. Oh, these people still care about you. And I'm like, well, her dad was kind of a monster, so I'm not, even though that one would have worked. It's like, he's kind of bad, and then okay, but so her brothers or her sisters reached out. Somebody in her siblings reached out. Which one was it? And I frickin' said brothers. And I'm like, no. And she's like, you never listen to me. I have sisters. And I just was like, I can't believe I screwed that up. And then, nope, see ya, she's gone. I was so devastated by losing that. And I think, and I mentioned on the show, maybe I didn't mention the show, but like, I was thinking to myself, well, that was a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
There's nothing I could do.
You did mention that, and I actually felt the same way. It's like, okay, well, it feels like no matter what I did, that would have been inevitable until you get to the after screen that says whether you saved her or not, and you go, oh,
exactly. Once you saw the thing at the end and it said X percent of people saved her, I was like, no. Even Kez wrote in on my Facebook or my TAPM and said, you're a terrible friend. You should save her. It's like, I know I am. I know I'm such a failure. I loved that scene. I thought that was so powerful. What about you, Joe?
There was a beautiful letter from her dad saying that, that he was thinking of her, he would be there for her. So when that question came up, it was like, I didn't hesitate on saying, your dad's going to miss you. I just basically played it as if it had been me trying to talk someone down. I mean, it was an absolutely heart-rending scene. I mean, again, my heart was pounding. I was like, you're not going to be able to undo this. This is it. This is final. I was like, I hope I'm saying the right things. God, she's inching closer. Come on. I've got to think of what is it? And it worked. And I was just so relieved. And then I saw the screen. I was like, some people couldn't save her. My best friend couldn't save her. And I was like, wow, I'm so glad I did.
I forget. I think there's she asks, there's 3 decisions, and then you've kind of got the catch-all one. So even if you totally screw up those decisions, you can still save her by mentioning the right thing from the Bible, the right Bible quote.
No, because I got the Bible quote right.
Did you? Oh, okay. So I got the Bible quote wrong, but I'd mucked up. I'd gotten 2 out of the 3 of the other ones correct, and I just forgot which one of the other ones, or what seemed a little ambiguous. I couldn't quite tell which one. I forget exactly, but I was a bit disappointed that I didn't save her because I thought I had paid attention to a lot of the stuff there. So I certainly knew that her father and her sisters were there for her and that kind of thing. But
so I loved it. And then you lead to kind of the aftermath, and you're in the principal's office. You've got, your principal's saying, you got to point the finger at somebody. Who's it going to be? And you're like, you got Nathan, who's like the easy pick. You're like, yeah, it's that clown. This dude's a jerk. And then you got David over here at the wall. You're like, well, that guy's a jerk too. And then it's like Mr. Jefferson. You're thinking, well, what's his deal?
Yeah, that was totally out of left field for me. I was like, okay, he was a teacher, and then there was that thing at the beginning of the class, but a
little scuffle at the beginning of class, right? Like, well, it was you at the start of class who made fun of her, and then she went and killed herself. Like, yes, that immediately precipitated to the event, but I didn't feel like Mr. Jefferson was supposed to be there.
Yeah, it's kind of foreshadowing, isn't it? But I don't even remember Jefferson being a pick there, because it just seemed like, well, okay, Jefferson's got nothing to do with it. So and I pointed the finger at Nathan, I think, on the first time through. So
I did too.
But it does kind of foreshadow, doesn't it?
Yeah, and if you reported Nathan for the gun, he gets expelled he gets suspended at that point. I think if you didn't, then I don't know if it's an extreme. I can't quite remember. There were too many options to pick.
But regardless, you got suspended, right?
No.
Or did you guys? Oh, no. I got suspended.
So that's the difference then. If you didn't report Nathan, you get suspended. But if you did and you pick Nathan, then he gets suspended.
Well, how the hell did you go do all the other stuff then if you didn't have the day off of school? Because I had the whole day off of school. I was hanging out with Chloe all day.
I was hanging
in episode
out with
3.
Chloe too. I think we must have just skipped class. Or it was some kind of college and they had free periods.
Yeah, I mean, they specifically during mine was saying it like, I feel like a criminal. I should be in school, but I'm suspended, and it's kind of nice having a day off, but I feel like I should get back to class. Like that thread came up a bunch of times.
That's interesting. Yeah, I never got that. I must have.
I've got to go play it again then.
Yeah, it probably didn't help that I flicked off the principal. I don't know. That was an option. You just if you hold down the bumper, yeah, you can give him the bird. Just kidding. That's not a mechanic.
That doesn't sound like a thing. I would have remembered that.
Yeah, no, I flipped the desk. I was like, "F this, get out of here!" And I just went nuts. No, that didn't happen. But anyway, so we move on to episode 3, right? And so things are starting to heat up. You're getting the excitement of, well, excitement's probably the wrong word, but certainly the intrigue of kind of what happened to Kate. It's investigation time. Let's really figure this thing out. And so you play super spy, and you try to go break into the school. And I mean that was fine. Like I was, you just some light puzzle elements, nothing crazy. And then as you progress and you look at everybody's records, right? You collect all the files. You find there's a decision about a big wad of cash in the desk. And Chloe's like, oh, hey, $5,000, handicap people's fund or whatever. I need the $5,000, otherwise Frank's gonna kill me. We should take it. And to me, I was like, no. Like, yeah. You're a disaster, and we'll figure this out. But you're not stealing $5,000 on top of all the other issues you have. So again, another one of these non-issues for me. It was like an easy decision as far as I was concerned. Did you guys have any reservations or?
No, that was
anything?
A no-brainer. For not stealing that we were supposed to be leaving no evidence that we were there. I mean, I just blew up the door, but I rewound. It was fine.
I fixed it.
Yeah, I forget what I did the first time around, actually. I've got a feeling I might have taken the money. Does that make me a horrible person?
Yes.
I'm kind of thinking it's like Chloe's life versus a fund. Like someone's life versus a disabled fund that they can probably get more funding from somewhere. Chloe's life can't bring that back. That was kind of my thinking. So I might have actually gone with the money, taking the money at that point.
So after this little incident, you're ready to leave, and you are you're playing around in the pool, doing whatever, and it's time to leave, and the security shows up. And this is your introduction to some of the stealth mechanics that will come in later. I didn't really care for this. I mean, it was fine. It certainly wasn't that difficult, and it gave you a sense of how to maneuver with, but I had to rewind time like twice. I still got caught by the flashlight, but I felt like this was kind of unnecessary. Oh, you did?
Yeah, I just hid in the shower and then was like, they seem to have gone by. I'm just going to sneak out the back door.
That's funny. I had to do the loop around the locker room.
Yeah, I did that too. I think I was already in the locker room, and to get back to the shower, I had to basically walk past the guy anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So you're back in Chloe's room at this point, and what's classified as another major decision is when you're in the room and Chloe's kind of giving you crap after you find Rachel Amber's clothes. And Chloe makes this like offhand comment about kissing her. And you're with that option of like, well, do you lean in and smooch, or do you like, no, not that, we're just friends. That's not really my thing. And I ended up going for the kiss. I thought, no, this is pretty serious. Like, you've saved her multiple times. Like, you are invested in this girl. Like, she needs to know how important she is to you. And so I thought, well, a smooch, that'll do it. And it didn't end well. But I don't know. Did you guys?
I didn't. I also went for the kiss as well, but with a different kind of different
mindset.
Feeling. It was more a case of, okay, well, she's really not expecting this to happen, so I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Just to kind of throw her off. Yeah. So that was the first round. What about you, Joe?
Well, at this point, because we're halfway through, I was really invested in this whole sort of Chloe Max, and in my head they're totally in a relationship. So yeah, I kissed her because why the hell not? And it was so awesome that was an option in the game.
Agreed. No, that was cool. And then here David comes home, and you're like, oh, quick, gotta go hide. go find somewhere to hide. And so you're looking around trying to find something, and then you open the closet.
That was the first episode.
Oh, that was in the first episode? No, I thought this was the call out.
No. This is where you have the horrible chlorine clothes and you wear Rachel's stuff, and then you go downstairs and you got to break into David's computer. The thing with the pot and the gun is the first episode. That's how you end up back at the White House again. Because you
gotcha.
have the whole fixing the camera, and then to celebrate, Chloe sparks up, and then her stepdad comes in. And that's how you have the whole introduction to, oh my God, David's her stepdad.
I didn't realize that, so I put this completely out of order.
That's fine.
How did I get it up here? Anyway.
Damn it, Freem.
Yeah, right? I feel like I followed your walkthrough. I feel like we flip-flopped these. But anyway, we can talk about this particular scene, regardless of where it happened. The pot incident. Did you guys throw Chloe under the bus and be like, "No, that's not my drugs. I got myself to look out for," or did you guys take the blame?
For some reason, I felt obliged to step out, interfere, and take the blame for the drugs, even though they weren't my drugs. And I don't know why, but I stand by it.
Yeah, I did the same thing, actually. I think I did it just as more to diffuse the situation. One, didn't want Chloe to get in any more flack. Figured that I was an outsider and that, I can take some of that flack without, causing many more problems. I think that was my thinking. How did you go with that one, Freem?
I also took the blame for the drugs. I was like, well, my life is relatively well put together. Like, I could probably get out of this better than she could. Like, my guess is, and like, with how high strung David was, I was like, there's a chance he'll just beat her senseless. Like, I don't want, like, he seems off.
Yeah.
I don't want to give him any reason to, like, lash out. So I also took the blame. Like, yeah, no, this is kind of my thing.
It kept on getting thrown in our faces as you go through the story as well.
That's the one thing that was really bothered me. Yeah. This one, that lingered. That was like, everybody's like, well, yeah, and then you have Max over there with her pot.
Yeah,
Come on. How did you even hear about that, And
I guess that's an interesting part of the entire story, really, is that decisions like that aren't simple. They're not simple decisions to make, and they do have those kind of ramifications throughout the story. And you're kind of like, well, they made it for the right decision, but for the right reason, but yeah, even though it's not true.
Everything has consequences.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, so let's get back on track. We're at Chloe's house. I'm wearing Rachel's clothes now, Rachel Amber's clothes, and we're cruising around her house. I think the thing that stood out to me the most was, like, I had just been playing along, doing my thing, and then you go outside, and there are dead birds everywhere.
Yeah. That's
when
it starts getting creepy.
Yeah.
Like, geez, like, look at all these. There's like, I think there's probably 8 or so outside. And I was just thinking, man, what's going on here? Something's not right. Things are getting pretty, although, I mean, there were some things that were weird already. Like, at the end of episode 2 was the snow, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Episode 1.
Yep.
Episode 1 had the snow.
Snow at the lighthouse.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, okay, that's kind of weird.
When do the whales beach themselves? Is that
end of 4.
Okay.
And I think the birds here were the one where I really thought, like, snow, yeah, that is weird. The eclipse was at the end of 2. I think that was the end of 2 with the weird eclipse thing.
Yeah. And then, we get to the double moon, and that's when things are really off.
That's end of episode 4, isn't it? The double moon.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I thought, like, yeah, okay. Like, the eclipse, that's weird, too. But it was the dead birds that really, like, said it to me, like, this really isn't right. Like, something's falling apart here. You're either doing something wrong, or things are escalating, and we're coming to a head here soon. What about you guys? Anything along those lines that stuck out to you at Chloe's house, or the trying to break into David's computer?
Yeah. I liked how they tied in the padlock that was hanging out by Davy's computer into the next episode where you're trying to break into the locker.
Yep, totally didn't remember that.
No, neither did I.
Like,
I had to go back and look that one up, but I just used a crowbar.
I also crowbarred the crap out of it.
But yeah, the whole consequences for her when she uses her power, it really makes me feel uncomfortable. I mean, yes, nosebleeds, headaches, the power shorts out, that's fine. That's a normal consequence of using a power that you don't know what you're doing. But the entire world spiraling out of control, it just feels like she's getting punished for trying to do the right thing. She saved someone's life. And this is the crux of why, when it got to the very end, when Warren kept on going, "Oh, it's your fault this is all happening," it's like, geez, if normally if you get a superpower, you save people's lives, occasionally stuff gets done to you because the consequences of using it, but it doesn't tend to destroy the whole world. And it felt really...
Yeah, in the real world, when you have a superpower... Wait, hang on.
No. But, okay, well, fine. It felt a little bit sexist to me because, men get superpowers and they run around saving the world and they don't have any consequences. It's a huge generalization, but, this teenage girl gets a superpower. She gets to rewind time and save people. And yeah, she uses it for some petty things to get people to like her, but did it seriously warrant destroying the entire town for it?
Yeah, I guess just on the actual power, I mean, where did it come from? Like, why did she even get given the power in the first place if the only if using it at all ends up causing complete destruction? It's just like, what?
What was the point? That really, that's why episode 5 was spoilt for me. I loved episodes 1, 2, 3, 4. And I mean, there was some weird things happening, but I could get around that. But when episode 5 hit, I was just like, I feel uncomfortable now, and it really spoilt the game, at the end.
Yeah. But we'll get to that. But yeah, it is certainly, it's starting to feel like the use of the powers are really having consequences now, particularly with the dead birds. And you think, this has got to be connected, or something, but you're not sure. The feeling, I think, at that point in the episode is that you're given these powers to stop those weird things happening.
Yes,
right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking with the storm. Is that I will stop this storm happening, not causing the storm. Yeah,
rather than at the end of episode 5, it's you using the powers that's causing it, and that's kind of it takes a bit of the sort of heroism out of it, I guess, because you sort of feel like, well, okay, what was the point in the whole thing?
Right. So we'll kind of, try to skip through quicker here. We got the diner thing. This was, to me, a disaster. Like, having to do all this conversation back and forth, like, trying to get enough so Frank would let me keys to his RV. Like, that was obnoxious. This was one of those mechanics that, like, it was a little too much of trying to do the rewinding and learn about all these, all the nuances of everyone's conversation. I was like, okay, I want this to be easier at this point, because the pacing of the story right now is really escalated, and you just grinded it to a halt with me trying to, like, talk to the cop and then talk to Nathan and then talk to Frank and then talk to the cop again. And then, because I felt like I got a piece of information. Great. I want to go talk to Frank. Let's get this thing moving. Because I was so excited about where the story was going. That I was a little frustrated at the diner here. But ultimately then... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I got frustrated to the point where I just threw his food at him, and that sadly didn't work. But I agree. Yeah, there was a lot of going back and forth, and especially having to write that one up to go, all right, well, that sparks that one, which then you can go back to talk to them and talk. I mean, you could probably do it in about 3 conversations, but if you're trying to figure out everything...
I think the second time I played the game, I think I just ended up talking quickly to Nathan and rewinding a couple of times on him to get more info out of him, went to the cop, got the information there, and then I had enough to trigger Frank into leaving his keys available so I could then grab them and rewind time and get out of there.
Right.
So you can do it reasonably quickly, but if you don't sort of know to to trigger as many conversations as you need to, then I can imagine it would be a bit frustrating going back and forth.
Right. So then we get to the probably the best part, and this is just fantastic, is day's kind of over, you're sitting on your bed and you're looking at this old picture of you and Chloe when you were very young, 11, 13, whatever it was. And all of a sudden you zoom in, and now you have been transported to Chloe's house when you were that age. And Chloe's dad is there, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can fix this. Like, I can make it so Chloe's dad doesn't get into that car accident. This is great. And I thought the way that they executed that was fantastic. Where you're like, find the keys, and you're like, oh, you're right, I gotta go find the keys. Where are they? Let's try to beat him. And he's like, oh, I got him right here under the hat. And you're like, you son of a, well, let's see you find him next time. So you go grab him, and you're like, all right, I gotta hide him. Put him in the vase. I don't know, that's what I did. I put him in the vase. And also he's like, well, it's a good thing I got this thing. Beep, beep. And you're like, no, man, what, are you kidding me? I thought that was great. I thought that was a fantastic mechanic, because it was like, you felt like, I got it this time. And he just a little bit every time kind of sneaks it out on you. And so I ended up throwing him in the sink. I'm like, don't worry about it.
Window.
Did you throw him? Yeah, I knew there were a couple ways to take care of it. And I thought that was really cool. And he walks out the window, or out the door to catch the bus. Doesn't walk out a window. Walks out the door into that white light, right? And I thought it was very symbolic. It was cool. And all of a sudden you wake up, and you're, Victoria's there saying, Maxine, what are you doing? You're like, whoa, hey, things got really weird. Which was cool. I liked that. And all of a sudden now parallel universe action, and it's so exciting. And the first thing you do essentially is run over to Chloe's house, like, hey, Chloe's dad's alive. This is going to be great. Let's go see how she is. And, oh yeah, Chloe's really happy. She's going to be so happy to see you, Max. It's really great. And he steps to the side, and Chloe zooms on up in a wheelchair as a completely quadriplegic. And it's like, oh my goodness, what a cliffhanger.
Yeah, you see, these are the right type of consequences for time travel, is you alter something without understanding it, and you change someone's entire life. That was just so profound. And also, massive cliffhanger. They really do know how to do their cliffhangers.
It was good. Yeah. I mean, I did think it was maybe a little heavy-handed, but it really drove the point home, like, oh yeah, that's awesome.
But it's also another case of the hero tries to do the right thing with this power that was given to her, and it ends up being completely screwed. Which seems to be a running theme through this particular game.
Yeah, but this one rang true for me, because this sort of thing would happen. I mean, you've got maybe Superman going back in time and changing something, coming back, and Lex Luthor's a good guy. That's the sort of intended consequence. Not entire world is going to explode.
True. Yes. Yeah.
Right. So we're moving on to episode 4 now. Things, and the whole alternate timeline thing, it was interesting, but I felt like it dragged on a little too long. But certainly at the end of the alternate timeline, where you're with Chloe and she asks you to euthanize her, I thought was like, oh my God. And that was the point of this, where I thought, it's like everything I do, Chloe dies. Like, I can't get out of this.
It's like Final Destination.
Right? Like, I'm trying to fix all this stuff, and no matter what, she dies. Like, what is going on? And I'm like, I euthanized her. I said, yep, sorry, you're right, Chloe, because I knew I could go back and change it, and I would change it. So I was like, I'll just take you out of your pain right now. That consequence, like, it was an interesting choice to have to make, but knowing that there was no implication to the story didn't really have any weight to it, but it was certainly interesting.
Yeah, I think this was probably the first decision where I felt it didn't really matter. And I guess we'll probably get to that when we get to episode 5, but I feel like because once you've reached this point in the story, you already know that you're going to go back and reset it. There is no way you're leaving Chloe in that position. So whether or not you euthanize her or not, it's a very heart-wrenching thing. And I think I opted for no as my choice, just because it's sort of, that was my decision. I can't really explain why, but it felt like, well, this is not going to matter because this won't happen anyway.
Right.
So I kind of, whilst it was a very powerful scene, the entire thing was a very powerful scene. But you always had the feeling that it was not going to be. That's not the way the story is going to progress.
Right.
And so it sort of lost a little bit of weight because of that, I think.
Agreed. So, all right, we're back. We changed things, which that changing it back was so sad. And she's just like, oh, confiding in Chloe, you always be my friend. You always, that just punched me right in the feels.
Onion ninjas.
It was, oh man, it was fantastic. Like it was so powerful. Progressing further into the story, so obviously there was a scene where, now you're like, okay, we gotta really focus, get things back on track. And we end up coming to this scene that I completely missed because Kate died. Mm. How did she even end up in the hospital?
Well, because she tried to kill herself.
Oh, so she was like in a psychiatric hospital, like getting. I mean, she wasn't like sick or anything, right? It was just the mental, like she needs to be on watch.
Under observation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because you said you really liked that scene, Terrigan, right?
Yeah, it was nice in the sense, like, I only got that on my second playthrough because I didn't save Kate the first time around. But, it was just sort of nice to have that reaffirmed that you're a good friend and you've done the right thing and managed to save someone that you care about, and that she's going to be okay. You sort of didn't get that obviously when Kate died, but right. I like that scene just as that little extra sort of bit just to wrap up that part of the story.
Sure.
And plus, she got to help you out, find out where Nathan's room is, so you got that knowledge.
Yeah, that, I mean, and obviously I did it without. It wasn't too difficult. But yeah, so you're just kind of, so at this part of the story, you're collecting the evidence, right? And so you got the stuff from David's locker. Now you're in Nathan's room, and in Nathan's room, like his room was pretty messed up. Like I felt really uneasy being in there. With all the dark and stuff. And I don't know if you guys saw this. This like stood out to me, but there was like that certificate from his parents on the wall, like certificate of like best son or something. And the date on there was June 6th, 2006. And so 666. And I'm thinking, there it is. That's what's going on. We're going to take out the devil. Nathan is the devil, and that's why all this weird, terrible stuff is happening. And like I was locked in on Nathan at this point. Like I figured it out. Let's go get him because he's the devil.
I totally missed that.
I could not have been more wrong, but it was. I felt so convicted at that point. Like, great, I'm gonna nail this bastard because I think he is just sick. And so, I mean, I liked that part of it, but again, and that was just one tiny goofy little detail that, you guys didn't see it, you didn't do anything about it, and so you had a different mindset.
I totally thought Nathan was the bad guy, but I did miss the 666 reference. But I think it's just they were it's throwing a lot of really heavy-handed Nathan is the bad guy thing there. Yeah. I think I actually kind of thought that maybe it's not all Nathan at this point, just because they were so heavy-handed on the fact that Nathan's this really dark, deranged kind of person.
Sure,
but yeah. I guess, and they were constantly surprising us anyway with the story, so I kind of expected something else to happen.
Yep. So you get his clues, you get Frank's clues, and now this I felt was another one of those grind everything to a halt, the investigation, where you're looking at all the things, and it was like I knew what I was trying to do. Like I knew the end goal. It was, okay, I've got surveillance of these two, and I knew that Nathan and Frank met for drugs. And so I just need to link the times together. And the way that they like presented it was like, oh, I don't know what I'm looking at here. How do I link, which picture says Nathan's car to, it's like, just give, I'd much rather dialogue options or something to solve this little puzzle versus trying to, because at one point I just started clicking things. So it was like,
yeah, I didn't really mind that section, actually. It was kind of a nice little break away from the regular gameplay to just kind of solve a simple puzzle.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
Because you sort of, with the thing with the number plates and the duct tape on the car. I mean, process of elimination, yeah, but it was fairly simple to figure out which photos they wanted you to look at, and then you just sort of. Mainly, the problem was that I had to look at the expanded view and then go back down and then remember which one I just looked at to select it, because you couldn't see the text when it was closed.
I think I just got hung up on David's. You had to pick 3 pictures from David. It was like I nailed the Nathan one, I nailed the Frank one, and it was the 3 pictures of David where it's like, I need the car and this and this. Like, I knew what I needed to link, and the pictures weren't working. And I ended up just randomly clicking things till I got it to work. And then everything fell into place. But it was unfortunate because it just took me out of the momentum that had been building. And you're right, it's a good opportunity to breathe. But at this point, I'm on overdrive thinking I'm taking out the devil. And, so we got to get moving.
Oh, no,
get the pitchforks.
As I said, I really enjoyed this because it wasn't just picking conversation options and taking photos. You really were solving the puzzle with Chloe. And I was really engaged in, putting all the pieces together. I didn't actually, because I was exploring around the room and suddenly I was like, ooh, notice board. Ooh, I've triggered something. Did I look at everything yet? So I had a little bit of a, have I missed anything in the room type situation going on, but I thought that was really, really clever, and I thought it fit in with where you were going. Yeah, everyone was rushing headlong, but you still need to figure out what's going on first.
Yeah, that's true. So you end up at the old barn. You do a little bit and find the bunker, which bunker door opens, and I'm like, this is going to get real weird. Like, I'm going into the devil's lair. Again, like, I have this complete misinterpretation of what's happening, but, like, all of a sudden now I'm thinking, like, this is going to get real crazy when I get in here. And tell you the truth, it didn't disappoint. Even when you got in and you kind of started looking at the pictures and stuff, and you're like, yes, this is way more disturbing than I think I was expecting. That I wasn't expecting, like, blood and guts and demons all over the place, but, like, I don't know what, I guess I don't know what I was expecting, but when I started looking at these, and to me, the notion of captivity and torture that does not sit well with me. And so the whole thing really was unsettling. I
think as well, the sheer scale of it. There were so many folders and so many girls, and you're going, what the hell?
Yeah. But then it was down there when you were looking through the books, and there was that one picture with both Nathan and Kate, I think. Or Nathan and I think it was Nathan and Kate in one picture, and I was like, well, that's weird. How did he get in a picture with her? Like, is it like a camera self-timer or something? Or wait a minute, is there somebody else involved in this? And that's where the notion of this might not be just Nathan here. Something's might be more serious, because Nathan's kind of a douche. And that's kind of where the notion came in.
Yeah, and Nathan was a bit erratic as well, which doesn't really fit in with the setup.
Yeah, it was very methodical. Yeah. I totally didn't twig that he was in one of the pictures because I have a timer in the remote for my camera. So I can set it up on a tripod, and I've got a remote, and I can take the picture without having to be behind the camera.
Yeah, that
didn't
really
faze me at all. I had no clue that there was anyone else involved.
In retrospect, though, given all the other pictures that you see, there's only one that happens to have the person doing the actions, and that was the one with Nathan, I suppose. So you only kind of think about that in retrospect once you know the whole story.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, let's move on. So we end up at the party, I think, at the end of this one.
Oh, no. We run to the junkyard first.
That's right. Do we?
Yeah. Because you look at the photos in the binders and on the computer, and then you see Rachel, and you see Rachel in a hole in the ground, and Chloe runs out, and you end up back in the junkyard. and you basically dig with your hands and you find Rachel's body. And
That's right, yeah.
then I can't remember
And
if...
then Chloe flips out.
Yeah, Chloe flips out. But also, it's
rightfully so.
right where you saw the doe. That's right
Yes,
by where
and
you
that's
see
where
the doe.
the link was. Yeah, the direct link of that Rachel is the doe,
Yeah.
and that she is trying to be a guiding force to show you what has happened to her. And you're like, okay, yeah, hey, we got the mystery. Now we need to find the perpetrator.
Yeah. So then then Chloe is like, "It's Nathan. I'm going to kill him," or something along those
Yep.
lines. And then you go to the end of the world party, and you've got the weird ass double
Yep.
moon and the drunken Warren taking photos in the parking lot, which I was like, "Ooh, photo." Not.
Yep,
yeah.
I thought exactly the same thing. That's going to be important later.
Yeah.
Yep,
That photo.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
And
I
then,
thought that was kind of fun. And
that leads
you know,
into
with-
probably the best song. I think the song that you enter the club with is probably my favourite song out of the entire game. I ended up buying the album that's off.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
music is awesome.
So it was cool, right? And so you get it amps up. I ended up warning Victoria successful to say, hey, stay away from Nathan, man. That dude's trouble.
Yeah. Same here.
And you get to, and you're like, okay, he's not here. We gotta, and then you get that text from Nathan, and you're like, you're not gonna find any more of the evidence. Thinking, you son of a, back to the junkyard. Let's go. Let's get him. And then, Chloe runs off crazy, and you're like, well, this is gonna end badly. And the way that they disabled your powers at this point, I thought was great. And it was the needle to the neck, like, sneaks out, and you're just like, oh crap, nope, now I'm screwed. And that just happened.
You just feel
And
so
of course,
powerless.
Right. Chloe gets shot, and then the big reveal, Mr. Jefferson stands there, and I just thought, totally makes sense, you Weasley little bastard. Like, and it was all this flood of information, like, gosh, you're right. How did I miss all that stuff? Like, it totally is him.
Yeah, it was
And,
totally. It was almost too obvious. I mean, I knew he was a creepy teacher and that maybe Rachel had slept with him because you get that whole sexy teacher vibe thing. But I totally had not twigged that maybe he was behind it all. And it really freaked me out.
I mean, it was still surprising. It was still surprising for me, but
it was a real surprise for me. I sort of thought Mr. Jefferson might actually end up being kind of the good guy that you end up going to at the end of the game, but no.
Not so much. And then we move into episode 5, which was, I mean, so you guys said you're a little disappointed in it. There were parts that I was disappointed, but certainly the opening scene, I think we can all agree, was super cool.
Yeah, I think, well, the entire thing was actually really cool. It just, I didn't like the way it kind of wrapped up, and I felt after playing through the entirety of episode 5 and getting to the end, you kind of go, well, okay, I can play through episode 5 again and nothing that I do matters.
Yeah.
And in fact, after playing through the end of episode 5, nothing that I do in the entire game matters.
Well, depending on which
And that's
choice you
what-
made. But yeah.
That's true. But even so, yeah, yeah. Anyway, yes, the dark room wake up. That was a pretty disturbing insight into what it was like to be in captivity in that kind of situation, and it was done really well, I think.
Absolutely. They had some cool mechanics, but going back and forth. And of course, while you're using all these mechanics, everything's just devolving around you. I mean, things are just collapsing, and like you can tell how much of a struggle it is every time she goes back. And like you're so limited now with these pictures on the events that you can change. And I thought that was cool of like, you're really getting to the point of, this can't go on forever. We're coming to a head here. We got to get out of this dark room, but we got to figure out how to end this time travel stuff. And at this point, I think what was cool was, you got this sense, I got the sense that, okay, if I can just, I'm focusing on the Rachel Amber piece of like, if I can just get this killer to justice, then that's the story. That's what I'm here to do. That'll stop the tornado. And so, yes, okay. I did think when we went back knowing what you did know, and you turned in your picture or whatever, or you texted David so he could bust Mr. Jefferson. I thought some of the dialogue options were a little heavy-handed, like, yeah, you'll see what it's like to, rot in hell or something. And they're like, slow down, Max. Like, he has no idea what you're talking about. Like, you are coming off like a complete lunatic. And of course, then the story plays out, and and it's happened so quickly that it's like, okay, I solved it, and now I'm on the plane to San Francisco. And I'm thinking, okay, like, how does everything kind of just wrap up here? Because I feel like I've closed this out.
And
now
everything is awesome.
Yeah.
Right. And everything's just kind of coming together. And then all of a sudden you get that call, and it's like, tornado in Arcadia Bay. We're in trouble. And I'm like, no, what? Are you kidding me? I thought I fixed that thing. Yeah. And so that was kind of cool. And then I like the effect of, okay, well, if I go and do this from here, and then you end up back in the dark room, and you're like, man, like how did that happen? And then you play through the scenario in your head of, oh, I never handed him this, and so I never got here, that's how I ended up back here. Curses.
He set the photos
I thought that was a cool mechanic.
That was how you ended up there.
No, he was so pissed. Yeah.
But,
so anyway, okay.
Yeah, episode.
Go ahead.
I mean, the thing that almost destroyed me in episode 5 when I was researching for the walkthrough was that if you didn't or were unsuccessful in warning Victoria, she's not even there in episode 5. I thought I was doing her a favor by telling her Nathan was dangerous, and I got her killed. That was very.
She was there initially though.
No.
In the first time you woke up, she was next to you.
No.
Oh, when I told her don't go to Nathan, she went and confided in Mr. Jefferson and was in. When you first woke up, she was next to the couch.
Yeah, but if you don't,
she
tell
wasn't
her,
there after,
or she doesn't believe you, she's not there because she didn't go to Jefferson. Yeah. She had no reason to. So she would never. She was never in the dark room.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the first when I played through, I wasn't able to convince her. I tried to, but she didn't believe me, and she wasn't there on my first playthrough in episode 5. But yeah, the second time I played through, and I did convince her, and then she ends up being captured. But I guess you can't always. I suppose that's just saying you can't always know the consequences of what you do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So things are wrapping up here. We get out. David helps us, and I think the one thing I want to mention is with David sitting there with Mr. Jefferson on the ground, and you have that option of telling him about Chloe or something, and he shoots. So in mine, he shoots Mr. Jefferson laying there, and then he kind of is like there alone. Yeah, he's there alone, and I'm like, oh dear, and I need to go get in the car, and I had left assuming David was going to kill himself. That's what he was like. He was not leaving that bunker to go to jail. Like, him and Mr. Jefferson's bodies will both be found. And I thought, ooh, boy, well, I'm glad I'm going to go fix all this.
Yeah, I totally freaked out when he shot him. I was like, crap, rewind. So I just lied straight to his face just so he wouldn't do that. Because I couldn't do that to him.
It's funny, the first time I played, I didn't actually tell him that Chloe was dead. So, yeah, I got the right way the first time, I suppose. But
and I didn't mind that he got killed. I mean, I was like, yeah, Jefferson needs to go.
Yeah, but it feels like it doesn't need to ruin another person's life. Yeah. And I guess at that point in time, I felt that he didn't need to hear about Chloe, and particularly as I knew that we were probably going to go back and do something about that anyway. So it sort of felt like a pointless way to hurt someone.
Yeah. So finally, we get to.
Just on that. There was one of the options there was David not getting scarred or something like that. And I never managed to work out how to trigger that.
Well, you can look at the walkthrough, and I figured it out.
Yeah, the walkthrough
but it took a long time.
Yeah, there must be just something early, I think, that I missed.
You have to kick the cart into Mr. Jefferson, so he doesn't have an opportunity to club him.
You have to ask for water. Yeah. And I did the photo because I wanted the photo, and it gave me an achievement. I never even considered going back that far. But yeah, you ask for water, and he brings over the cart, and then you get the option to kick it.
Yeah, I thought there was some point where you get to, I think there was a point I couldn't rewind back far enough to be able to trigger that particular option, so I guess I missed that the second time around as well. Anyway, moving on.
So we're at the street, and like the tornado is bearing down on the street, just destroying everything. And like you have these options to start saving people, and it was like I found it really hard. I mean, I wanted to try and save people and do my best as I was going through, but it was at that point really hard to like care, right? Because you knew at some point you were going all the way back to fix everything. And so I was just like, well, yeah, see ya, Alyssa, or see ya, whoever. Like, I'm done saving you people. I need to go save everybody and not just help you off a ledge. Like,
yeah, but the thing is that with Kate being your powers are limited, I was still concerned that I wouldn't be able to stop this tornado, and I was still going to try and save everybody that I could on the way. The thing with Alyssa was that I'd warned her so many times she killed herself accidentally before I'd even had a chance to get her down safely. She just backed out of the room.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right, we get the whole thing with Warren at this point. I don't know.
Sorry.
Like I was kind of warming to him and stuff, but again, it just felt like it was one of those. Well, he's not going to remember what's happening here. Like I'm just doing this all for me now.
Warren is the nice guy that is trying to be nice because he thinks it's going to get him somewhere, and he really creeped me out. I placated him because, you don't want to anger guys like that because they can turn around and shoot up an entire street of people because they get mad at you. So, yeah, I've been humouring him the entire episode, so I gave him a hug, but that was about it.
Yeah, I felt Warren was a bit... I didn't really get that kind of vibe, like the creepy kind of vibe from him, but I kind of felt that he was trying a little bit too hard. And maybe there was a nice guy under there, but he just kind of needed to relax a bit.
I know, but this was nice guy in quotes, the sort of the guy that feels that he's being friend-zoned or, all the derogatory things that when a girl's not interested in you, you sort of justify why. And it must be them, not you, type situation. This is why it's really, really uncomfortable. I think you do get a different perspective playing at it as a woman than perhaps you might do as a man. As a complete generality. But I certainly felt that. Yeah, he was.
It didn't really. There wasn't a lot of magnetism between the characters, I guess. The Max didn't really seem to react to Warren in that kind of way.
She wasn't interested in him, but he had a huge crush on her.
Yeah.
No, it's Max and Chloe all the way. Seriously, I was like, that is the one true pairing. So we're in the diner. We get that photo, and then we finally get to go back to the parking lot. And then you get to tell Chloe that you've been screwing everything up, that you tried to fix her life and it just made it worse. And I don't know, did you have to rewind to convince her? Because the first time I did it, I didn't manage to, and it sort of failed me out.
No, I think I didn't have much trouble with that bit, actually. I think I got the first go. So
yeah, I think I just didn't want to tell her about that, and then I realised, I've got to tell her the truth because I've got to convince her because she knows about my power, so she'll believe me.
Yeah.
But
and then the nightmare scene.
Oh God, I hated this. I hated this entire section.
I also hated this entire section. This was just, I don't know.
I got
not
stuck
fun.
in the art gallery for about half an hour. I texted my friend going, I can't find a way out. It just hadn't gone one side of a wall, but it was so creepy with Mr. Jefferson all over the place. And it was dark. I was playing this in the dark, which in retrospect was a really stupid idea. And I was so freaked out by this point. I was just like, I can't get out. I'm trapped in this art gallery. I will be trapped in this art gallery forever. It was.
So I guess if you didn't like this section of the game, this section of the game is essentially what Layers of Fear is.
Oh, is it really?
The entire game is this section of the game. It's just really creepy, weird, and I really enjoyed this section actually. But I guess that's a lot about my preference in games.
I guess. No, I did not care for it. I thought, I mean, there were moments that were okay. Like, and I was like, okay, doing a little bit of it and stuff, but then it kept dragging on. And like, what I did appreciate is because it set up the final scene a little bit better after you made it to the end of the nightmare, where the constant negativity of all of the characters, if it was Warren or Frank or the principal, Samuel, the janitor, like everybody was just so negative and just beating you down with their negativity. And it was like, it helped set the stage then for that final scene after you make it through the little nightmare thing and you're in the diner. And the diner is filled with every character that you've seen so far. And they're all saying, why did you let me die? Why did you want to kill me? Kind of stuff. Like, and I was just, so you're so beaten down now by all the negativity and all of a sudden all these comments, and you walk over and you have the conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
And it was, oh my gosh. Like, I loved that part because it put so many things in perspective of, you're the problem here, Max. Like, you and Chloe are the ones who are total disasters in this scenario. And everything you try to do, you look at the common thread, and it's you trying to save Chloe, and she dies. And everything you do, she dies. And everything you do, everybody dies. And you can't do it. You're a complete failure. And I thought this little conversation you had here where you're trying to defend yourself and saying, no, I'm a right person. I'm trying to do good. And she just does a great way of turning it back on you, saying, are you sure you're being good? Like, do you get what you're doing? And it framed it so nice for me that really hit home. How'd you guys feel about this last kind of conversation here?
I mean, I don't know, it just, after the nightmare scene where, gets stuck in an art gallery for half an hour, I just felt like it was really just a slap in the face. I mean, I really was disappointed by episode 5. I mean, yeah, the beginning of it where you were desperately trying to save everybody, yeah, that was great. But then when it was like, it's all your fault, it's all your fault, it's all your fault, it just completely spoiled it. You get to the top of the cliff and it's basically undo every single decision you've ever made or leave the town burning and ride off into the sunset.
See, I guess for me, it never came down, like, the reason I liked it was because you were presented with, like, I didn't think of it as you are erasing all the things that you had already done. That it was, and in retrospect, or, as I think about it now, it totally was. But when I was in the moment, it was, I experienced all these things with you, Chloe. Like, we shared this moment together, and I extended our time together, but ultimately, you died in that bathroom.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to hold on to something that didn't happen. Like, just because me as Max felt guilty for not spending more time with you or being a good friend. And I'm trying to make up for all that now. And everything I'm doing to make up for it is causing more pain and hurt to everyone else. And so it became abundantly clear to me at that point, whereas like the only choice is, Chloe, you need to go. That was how it was supposed to be. Like, so I can see the other side of it. Like you said, hey, no, I went through all this work to keep you alive. Sorry, town, I don't care anymore. But to me, it was one of those, I feel that no matter what, like carry on the story 3 more months, more tornadoes and more horrible things are going to happen because Chloe's not supposed to be alive. And that was me just trying to cling on to this last vestment of my childhood and friendship. And I needed to let that go. And so that's why to me, the story concluded nicely for me, because it tied a nice bow on it. And the final scene then, when you're at Chloe's funeral and the music is just exquisite and so beautiful. It was such a good unwinding moment and unraveling everything, saying, look, cherish the moments that you have, because when you lose the opportunity to enjoy them, they're gone forever. And as much as you try to reach out and make change and think about all the what ifs, if I was just doing this, or I was over there, or I'd said this, or whatever, you need to live with what actually happened and then make the best of it. And so that's why, to me, the way the story ended, I would say it's a cynical approach to say everything I did didn't matter because I ultimately changed it all in the past. But I get the sense that Max in this story and me as the player still know and remember and experience all these things, that we maintain our memory of the events that transpired and have some really great moments that we would not have had if these powers hadn't manifested themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many thoughts about the ending. For me, it was a case of there really wasn't a decision. It was sacrifice the one to save the many.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, so I sacrificed Chloe. I unwound her right back to the beginning. But on the other hand, why would that one use of the power to go back to the very beginning not have a detrimental effect on the weather when, little things like helping someone with a homework had a detrimental effect on the weather? It just, it didn't add up. Why saving this one person? Why did saving this one person mean that the entire town got destroyed? Just that's what I'm coming back to. It just didn't add up. Why was she getting punished for saving this person's life? I mean, there's no real reason why saving Chloe in the bathroom should have brought down the apocalypse.
Yeah, I mean, that does seem a bit strong.
It is extremely, extremely strong. And I mean, yes, Max will remember everything, but nobody else will.
Right.
It's kind of like she saw Chloe get shot and then she's gone into some kind of catatonic state where she's imagined all of this and come up with this, played all this out in her head to try and
to cope
with it. Maybe even after she found out that it was Chloe, because she didn't know at the time, because she had blue hair. And this is all I can't remember if with the funeral, I know we had the blue butterfly, which nicely tied it up, but did we ever see Mr. Jefferson getting hauled away? Because
yes.
Yeah, because there were so many different cutscenes and pictures changing that I don't even know if he got arrested in the end.
I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, I hope he did.
I'm pretty sure he got his comeuppance, but that's a very interesting, like, I never even considered that angle of perhaps, because even that you guys mentioned at the beginning of this, you and Terrigan, that the tornado occurred in her nightmare before any of the events took place, technically. And does that mean, like, that, yeah, maybe it is all a mental thing and she's actually, in the hospital with Kate undergoing psychiatric care because she, has just lost her gourd and, can't cope with losing this friend who she never, like you said, didn't know it was her friend until after the fact, that she saw a person who got killed, saved her, and it turned out to be Chloe. That's a really interesting angle that I had never considered.
Yeah. Well, it literally just sort of came to me as you were sort of describing your decision at the end. I was like, oh, it's kind of like it was all a dream. Huh. well, what if it actually
Yeah.
was? I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say she was out of her gourd, but maybe it's just a coping mechanism that she's made up this story in her head as a way to sort of justify Chloe's death, that she tried to save her, but she couldn't because
Right.
it would have sacrificed the entirety of Arcadia Bay. So she had to sacrifice her friend to save the rest of the town.
Yep.
It was
And
her
then
way
she
of
ends up at
justifying.
peace.
Yeah, so she ends up at peace.
Could be.
Because I'm not totally convinced that we see Mr. Jefferson go down after the funeral.
Yeah, and I don't remember.
Because
to tell you the truth.
he got arrested so many times in the
Right.
when the
Right.
photos are changing that I don't actually think we see him. So it could potentially be that this is her coping mechanism, that
Yeah.
it didn't actually happen, that she sort of imposed all this on the people in her life that she knows.
Yeah. Oh, God, so good. Just so good.
I just came up with that on the spot. Go me.
I can't wait for because you got to feel that Don't Nod is going to reprise this, even if it's not this story or this character, but come up with another. I hope they
I
do
want a
come up with
season
another
2 of some kind, even if it's a totally different town, totally different characters.
Yep.
I definitely want them to do more, because I love what they try and do. I mean, they've not got it perfect, but they're doing really well. They stood their ground when publishers were like, we'll publish it if you make the main character a guy. But they were like, no.
Right.
And I don't think the story would have worked if it was a guy, to be perfectly honest. But they stood their ground through Remember Me, through Life is Strange, and I can't wait to see what they do next.
Absolutely. There are two. I've totally forgot. There are two things in that nightmare that I want to call out. I totally forgot about them. One is when you're transported back for the first time, and you're sitting in the room at the beginning of the story, and you're like, oh, we're here again, and Mr. Jefferson's just droning on, and all of a sudden, thunk, 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 and you look over, and birds are just driving themselves into the window, and you're like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, the whole window turns red as just hundreds of birds are killing themselves, and I'm like, what the? And I mean, like, that was very shocking to me.
Oh, yeah, and then you've got those crazy conversation options where no matter what you pick, it's just goddamn creepy when you're talking to Jefferson.
Right? Like, yep, you're all like, oh, I want to be your slave, and like, that was pretty twisted.
Yeah, I think that was the
And then
only
the
time
second-
that she's ever said something I didn't want to say, ever.
Yep. Then the second cool thing was when you're in the hallway and everything was backwards.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome. And
I was like, that's so
was
cool.
awesome, especially with the whole getting the picture by looking in your diary and the it being developed in reverse. That was very clever.
Yep. I just thought, wow, this is fantastic. Like, those are just two really cool, very short pieces, but like very memorable.
Yeah.
And the whole, I mean, the story as a whole was just so memorable and really fantastic. So, thank you everybody so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this. I absolutely love talking about this game. Joe, thank you so much for your contributions and of course writing that fantastic TA walkthrough. We appreciate it. It sounds like you also enjoyed your experiences here.
Yeah, I did.
It's great.